the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport.
The man is incredible.
The thrill of victory.
Absolutely the best.
And the agony of defeat.
And look at him go! Oh, baby. Oh, no!
This is ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Welcome to an American sports tradition.
They're racing in Indianapolis.
Sullivan has the lead. Standing Sullivan. Oh, he's
And look out, a crash before the start of the race.
Mike Murray takes the lead away from Rick Mears. Where's Foyt? I don't know whether he can get through or not. There he is. Goodyear tries it, but no. That's the closest finish in Indy history. Little Al brings it down low. They touch. Little Al into the wall. Fittipaldi continues on.
You just don't know what Indy means.
This is the Pep Boys Indy Racing League, today featuring the greatest spectacle in racing, the 83rd running of the Indianapolis 500. They have come from every corner of Indiana, from neighboring Kentucky and Ohio and Michigan, indeed from all over the United States and the world. This is an event with a capital E, and the weather is near perfect. Good morning, everyone. I'm Al Michaels, and since 1911, this race has represented the gateway to summer. Memorial Day and the Indianapolis 500 have been intertwined for almost a century. And this event's uniqueness is unquestioned. As in any sport, the cast of characters is constantly changing, but in the ultimate, the name itself, the Indianapolis 500, transcends all else. Like the jockey who wins the Kentucky Derby, or the golfer who wins the Masters, or the physicist who captures the Nobel Prize, the winner of the Indianapolis 500 has his life changed forever. It is his calling card forever. He and his team will have crossed the finish line first through a combination of skill, bravery, engineering, strategy, and luck. Any man who drives here is compelled to leave fear in the back seat. And while it goes unspoken, for 3 hours he must look the Grim Reaper in the eye and not blink. So ride along with us today as we crown the last Indy 500 champion of the 20th century. And following the race, join us for Sports Century, presented by General Motors Sports Dynasties. And we'll take a look at the Yankees, the great teams of the past, the Celtics. And when it comes to dynasties at Indy, if there's one in the 90s, it's Arie Luyendyk, because he's won this race twice. He is the sentimental favorite today. He is the pole sitter, and he's going to retire after the race. And some of those chasing him in this field of 33 will include Robby Gordon, who yesterday raced in the Motorola 300 in Madison, Illinois, and had this crash, suffered a badly bruised right calf, but he's in the field here at Indy this morning. Also, another man looking for his first Indy win, Scott Sharp, who starts outside in row 2, the 6th fastest qualifier. There are 4 rookies in the field today. The fastest is John Hollinsworth Jr. And starting 33rd and last is the veteran, Raul Boesel. But Arie Luyendyk is the man everybody will be looking at. He sits on the pole, a very popular figure, and a guy who's been a major star here since the mid-'80s. He made his debut here in '85, the year Danny Sullivan had that memorable spin and won the race. Arie was Rookie of the Year in '85 and finished 7th. And then he came here in 1990 and chugged the milk, the sign of victory. In Victory Lane, his first Indy win. He was the pole sitter and winner again in '97. Can he make it the hat trick? Let's go to Gary Gerold.
Back in the garage, the spare car is here. Arie is here. Arie, I can't help but wonder, is it going to be tough to block out the emotions as you make this walk from Gasoline Alley out to your final Indy 500?
It is, for sure. I mean, I'm trying to put it out of my mind, but it's almost impossible. So it's just great to see the crowds come out and the numbers they are. You know, the fans that are the people that make this place what it is today. And I just want to thank the fans for their support throughout the years and everybody that helped me in my career. And I want to say hi to my twins, Alec and Luca. Hi, guys.
The key to winning for a third time?
I think just use all the experience I have. And I really feel that we have a good race car today. I feel that Treadway Racing have put a great car on the track for me, and but it always comes down to patience, just waiting to see what happens on the track and play it by ear. You can't really plan these races ahead of time. You have to react to what's going on.
One of the great ambassadors of the sport, about to take a final 500-mile ride, Al.
Thank you, Gary. Arie Luyendyk on the pole. As usual, 33 starters, 11 rows of 3 as we get set for the 83rd Indianapolis 500. Let's run down the field. In row 1, the pole sitter, Arie Luyendyk. Greg Ray in the middle, and Billy Bode in the car owned by A.J. Foyt. In the second row, Robby Gordon, who raced yesterday in Illinois. Indiana native Mark Dismore and Scott Sharp. In row 3, Luyendyk's teammate Sam Schmidt. Kenny Brack, last year's IRL champion, and Scott Goodyear, who's come so close so often. Row 4, Hideshi Matsuda makes his 4th Indy start. Davey Hamilton and John Hollinsworth, the field's fastest rookie. Row 5, former Rookies of the Year Steve Knapp and Jeff Ward with Indy native Tice Carlson. In row 6, Eddie Cheever, last year's winner. Robbie Unser, son of 3-time winner Bobby Unser, and from Chile, Eliseo Salazar. In row 7, short track standout Donnie Beechler with Stan Waddles and rookie Jared Schrader. The 8th row, 96 winner Buddy Lazier, Roberto Moreno, and Tony Stewart, also a star on the NASCAR circuit. In the 9th row, Roberto Guerrero starts this race for the 15th time. Buzz Calkins makes his 4th start, and rookie Robbie McGee. In row 10, Jimmy Kite from Stockbridge, Georgia. Wim Eichmann's a rookie from Belgium, and Johnny Unser, another from the legendary family. And in row 11, Jack Miller, a dentist by trade. Robbie Buell, who just barely beat the rain last Sunday to qualify, and Raul Boisel. Up next, a look at Eddie Cheever. In Indianapolis, where the temperature is approaching 80 degrees, there's the car of Eddie Cheever, the 1998 winner, starting in the middle of the pack. But that's nothing new for Eddie Cheever as we go to Jerry Punch.
1 year ago, after qualifying 17th and avoiding near disaster at the start, Eddie Cheever refused to relinquish the lead on this late lap restart until the checkered flag had waved.
All I remember thinking to myself is, I'm not going to finish second. I had finished second too many times in Grand Prix when I was in there, when I would have maybe had opportunities to win if I would have upped the ante and risked a bit more. And the only thing I remember saying to myself was, I'm either not going to finish at all or I'm going to win. And they talk about being in the zone. I mean, I don't really remember much of it except thinking. I didn't even look at my mirrors. I said, all I got to worry about is going as fast as I can.
Eddie Cheever has won the 82nd running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
Eddie, returning as defending champion, how do your expectations and approach today differ from a year ago?
You know, we're a better racing team than we were then. Obviously, we've changed engines from an Oldsmobile to an Infinity, and this is a lottery. We go in there with a very strong expectation, and we beat much bigger teams than ourselves last year, and we plan to do it again this year.
Why is it so difficult to repeat here?
These are the most grueling 500 miles that we ever have to do every year. There's so many different circumstances that can change, so many things that can come into play that you would not expect, and you need excellent pit stops. Everybody has to be on their A game, and you know, you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen in the Indianapolis 500.
Al Michaels, it's been 28 years since a driver won Indy back-to-back, and the last one to do it was named Unser.
Jerry, it was Al Unser Sr. in 1970 and 71. As you look at the car to be driven today by Robbie Unser, and those letters UNSER are synonymous with Indianapolis. The first generation, Jerry Unser, the eldest brother who died from injury suffered in practice here in '59. Then Bobby Unser won the race 3 times. Al Sr. won it 4 times. And then the boys, Johnny, son of Jerry, just months old when his father died, making his 4th start. Robbie today making his 2nd start. And Al Jr., not in the field here, but a 2-time winner. The Unsers. What's an Indy 500 without them? Here's Jan Beekes.
Well, the Unser tradition continues here. We have Johnny as well as Robbie in the field. And let's start with Robbie. For you, this is a dream come true for most drivers, but as an Unser, what does it feel like out here?
Well, it's a very special place, I tell you. It brings tears to your eyes every time you come through the tunnel, and there's really nothing that means more to our family than this race and the people that come here to see it.
And Johnny, tell me, today you carry number 92, the significance?
Well, it was my dad's number when he ran here, 40 years ago. So it's just a thrill and an honor for me to bring that number back out and run it here at the Speedway again.
The Unsers are out here in full force, and of course, the cheers would be amazing if one of these two rolls it into victory circle. Al?
Thank you very much, John. The little Al right there. And Bobby, of course, who ended his career here in 1981 with a victory in the Indy 500. Overhead today is the Goodyear blimp Spirit of Akron, piloted by Captain John Moran, looking down on this spectacular sight. When we come back, Tony Stewart and an amazing daily double. A moment in time. For the last time, Arie Luyendyk leaves Gasoline Alley and comes out onto the track at Indy. Let's take a look at the car to be driven by Tony Stewart. Tony's going to try to drive this car 500 miles. He'll get in a plane. He'll fly to Charlotte, North Carolina. He'll try to drive 600 miles there tonight. If you got in a car in New York today and drove 1,100 miles, you would wind up in Des Moines, Iowa. Nothing new for Tony, because last Saturday he had to qualify under circumstances in which he left the track following getting himself into the starting grid, was given a police escort to the airport, got onto a plane that flew him to Charlotte, North Carolina, about a 1-hour flight, and then last Saturday night he ran 2 races, a total of 180 miles, won one, finished second in the other. Apart from that, not much happening with Stewart. Here's Gary Gerald.
Routine day for Tony as he tries this amazing double. Are you at all concerned that with the logistics and everything at stake here, you may lose focus for this 500 miles?
Not at all. My job is driving the race car, and I let everybody else worry about the weather and the logistics. But we've got great weather here today in Indianapolis, and we got great weather in Charlotte too. So the nice thing is I don't think we're going to have to worry about that one variable that we can't control, and that's Mother Nature. So I think we're going to be okay today.
Starting 24th. Any concerns there?
Actually, yeah. I mean, I've never started that far back in any of the IRL races, so this will be a new experience for us. Just want to make sure that I talk to some of the guys around me and make sure that we're all real patient. And it's 200 laps here. This is a long day here, and it doesn't matter what you do the first 10 laps.
And Al, if I know this guy, he thinks he can win both of these races today.
Day shift and night shift for Tony Stewart. Just one shift for Scott Goodyear, who's been the hard luck guy here in the 90s. He's come so close so often, including in 1992, the closest finish ever in the Indy 500, when he and Al Unser Jr. came right down to the yard of bricks, and Goodyear lost by 43 thousandths of a second. Scott's with Jerry Punch.
Scott, 2.
All right. A microphone problem, which we'll try to work on with Scott Goodyear. One of the guys working in Scott Goodyear's pit is Jim Harbaugh, the former Indianapolis quarterback, now with San Diego. And on the subject of quarterbacks, here's my Monday night partner, Boomer Esiason, your first race. What do you think of the atmosphere here?
This is unbelievable, Al. I remember watching this on ABC, and TV really doesn't do it justice. There are about 400,000 people here, and the noise that these cars generate is just absolutely amazing.
Really special. Who's your favorite today?
Well, we've alluded to Arie Luyendyk and he retiring today, so I would think that, sentimentally, we're probably all pulling for him, and it'd be a nice way for him to go out.
Most of the crowd as well. Get your rest. August 9th, we're getting at it again,
we're going to have a great season. We got Dallas versus Cleveland, first Monday night game up at the Canton Hall of Fame game. Looking forward to it. We've got a lot of stories to cover this year.
It'll be great with Boomer Esiason. 30 years of Monday Night Football. That kind of pales in comparison to what's taking place here at the Brickyard, though. This is the 83rd Indianapolis 500. What memories, and we'll stroll through the century when we come back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Pre-race festivities still underway here. And Scott Goodyear, we saw a moment ago, you've had 2 so very close calls with victory here at Indianapolis. How will this year and this team make it different?
Well, I think we certainly know how to get to the end. You got to go 450 miles, make sure you've changed the race car and get ready to go for that, racing for those last 50. And as we've seen here many times, sometimes it comes down to the last 10 miles.
His friends have nicknamed him the Sultan of Second, a nickname he wouldn't mind losing here today. Al?
You betcha. Thank you, Jerry. Well, ABC's been covering this race for 35 years. Last week, we were proud to announce an extension of the deal. We'll cover this race at least through 2004. And as we go back in time, the evolution of this race since its beginning is simply astonishing. At the turn of the century, when Carl Fisher laid out plans for what would become the racetrack at Indianapolis, he envisioned it to be an automotive testing facility. The first race in 1911 was not as much a sporting event as an opportunity for automakers to demonstrate their machines could run 500 miles. The winner of that first race, Ray Haroon, was regarded as a jockey. His fame came only in retrospect. By the 1920s, the Indy 500 was a true sporting event, and the drivers were viewed as daredevils in a highly dangerous endeavor. They were becoming well known and shared the sports pages with legends like Babe Ruth.
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars piled up here on the North.
Following World War II, the Holman family acquired the Speedway. The Indy 500 grew as a social and cultural phenomenon, with more and more people flocking to the Brickyard each May. Indy was as much about the cars as the men who drove them. Fans had their favorites: Novis, twin engines.
There he is! A.J. Foyt will win the Indianapolis 500.
The 1960s produced quantum leaps in racing's technical innovations, and Indianapolis-style racing was at the vanguard of automotive technology. The 60s, 70s, and 80s produced a succession of breathtaking breakthroughs. Records were broken on a regular basis.
That was the first 200-mile-an-hour lap in the history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Crowds of more than 400,000 came to root for the stars of racing: A.J. Foyt, the Unsers, Rick Mears.
He's making a move. No. John has won the Indianapolis 500.
Scott Goodyear tries it, but no. Al Unser Jr. is a winner at the Indianapolis 500.
This decade has seen considerable change at Indianapolis. The 500 now shares the Speedway with the Brickyard 400 NASCAR event, and Formula One racing at the Speedway is on the horizon. This is the cathedral of auto racing, and the Indianapolis 500 continues as the world's most attended single-day sporting event. One other physical change, that was a landmark for years. The old tower, it's been torn down. There's the new one still under construction. Those are actually just the elevator shafts, but it will be ready for scoring and timing and the rest of the administrative duties next year. And Jay Leno, as most of you know, the host of The Tonight Show and a car buff, a racing aficionado, he will be driving the pace car to get this race underway. And there's the car to be driven by Greg Ray. He'll start in the middle of row one. He was, for the most part, the fastest man in practice during May, except on qualifying day, and he's with Jan Bikus.
And now, you know, we talk about the Indy 500 being an endurance event, but Greg, you've been quoted saying you're going to run this thing flat out?
Well, John, I think I was a little bit misquoted there. You know, you have to drive fast, but you have to stay within your limits. I said I was going to be focused flat out.
Okay, now what they're talking about, of course, the driver wants to stay flat out, but you need to protect your material.
And the Borg Warner Trophy to go to the winner, a guy who hopes to have his likeness engraved on that. Billy Boat, who'll start on the outside of row one. And to say it's been an eventful month for Billy Boat is to put it mildly. Here's Jerry Punch.
Billy Boat's month of May miseries began on day 2 of practice when his brand new car was nearly destroyed against a turn 1 wall. One day later, a gusting wind in turn 3 shoved his backup car into the concrete. Then early on pole day, even before he could get up to speed, cold tires precipitated this spin and mild contact in turn 2, prompting fumes from fiery car owner A.J. Foyt. But Billy would battle back that same day in the final hour and capture a front row starting spot for the second consecutive year. Billy Boat, what effect will the incidents early this month have on your concentration and confidence here today?
Well, you know, we're looking forward. We're not looking backwards. What happened earlier is history. I know I've got a good race car with the compact Harris Conseco car. AJ put a good car underneath me. My team's ready. We're just looking to be there at the end of the day, and hopefully we can put it in victory lane.
Hey, best of luck to you.
All right, thank you.
Al, don't be surprised if Billy Boat pushes the button early here today.
We will look for it, Jerry, as we look at the car of Tice Carlson. He has gotten here through grit and resolve. He's an Indianapolis native, and he is a remarkable man, as detailed by Gary Gerold.
Tice Carlson's love of helping kids with life-threatening illnesses has long been a significant part of his own life. About 2 years ago, through the Indiana Children's Wish Foundation, he made the acquaintance of 9-year-old Corey Hanchar, and a truly special bond was formed. Tragically, Corey lost his battle with cancer just 3 days after being welcomed as an honorary team member.
Corey was a young man that wanted to be a race car driver. The same dream that I had, the same dream that everybody else had. His spirit was high, and that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be a race car driver.
For Corey's family, the acceptance by Tice's team provided a much-needed lift at a most difficult time. Tice, in fact, presented Corey this quarter midget, and the improbable bond between a veteran Indy driver and an ailing 9-year-old was cemented.
As we were walking out, Tice and Mike says, "Hey, you're on our team now."
Now, more than a year after Corey's death, he continues to be a very special part of Carlson's team.
Before I got into the race car down in Orlando, Corey gave me an angel. The children in the Wish Funds are given an angel to give to somebody, and Corey gave it to me to keep me safe, and it goes on my right foot whenever I get in a race car.
It just meant so much to us to know that they all remembered him, and they all want to keep his memory alive and do something like this.
Tice Carlson knows he won't be alone in the cockpit today as the spirit of Corey Hanchar rides with him in a bid for victory at Indy.
As the start draws nearer, calling the race today will be Indiana native and longtime radio voice of the 500, Bob Jenkins, and the 1983 Indy champion, Tom Sneva. Gentlemen, start your microphones.
It's just about time, Al. Great to have you part of our celebration here. You mentioned a word just before we went on the air, tradition, and that is so much a part of Memorial Day throughout the country and here in Indianapolis, including the 500.
Well, tradition's a big part of what makes this event so huge. But for the drivers, it's so important. They've got so many things on their mind as we go through that. But this one race can make their year and possibly their career.
Put yourself in the driver's seat as you were for 18 years. What's a driver feeling now?
Tension. The butterflies feel like condors. Now you're trying to psych yourself down, not up, because of all the hype. At Indy, I'm pretty sure the butterflies are on steroids.
You know, this track is exactly the same shape and bank the same as it was back in 1911. So what makes it so tough?
Well, on paper, it's very symmetric. But when you add weather, and especially wind, and 32 of your closest friends on race day, stuff happens. It can be a very unforgiving track.
Well, the straightaways are 5/8 of a mile in length and the turns banked at 9 degrees. Now, the trouble spots are often at the end of the long straightaways where speed is at a maximum. In turn number 1, for example, last year, just after the drop of the green flag, 2 cars, J.J. Yaley and eventual winner Eddie Cheever, got into trouble. Both were able to continue. And then recall 1989 when Al Unser Jr. and Emerson Fittipaldi came together, sending Little Al to the wall and Emerson to victory lane. Now, the surface in 1911 when Ray Haroon took the checkered flag was all brick. But the only brick remaining is at the start-finish line. They'll go 200 laps today on a journey to nowhere. One rookie who'll be negotiating the 2.5 miles is Robbie McGee, a 25-year-old rookie from St. Louis. Dr. Jerry Punch, he'll start today's race 27th.
And Robbie, this is a time when even the veterans struggle to harness their emotions. As a rookie, what are your thoughts and concerns as the start approaches?
We're just going to go out and try to keep it clean. I mean, this is just so amazing to be here in Indianapolis with all the fans. I've had yet to see what it's like from the inside as I have today. We're just going to go try to keep it clean and bring the Energizer Motorsports car home at the end of the day.
You can see and feel the intensity within this young man, Gary.
Yes, indeed. A car to keep an eye on, Jerry, from deep in the pack. Starting in the 11th row, another in the Foyt stable, number 84, to be driven by Robbie Buell. And what a whirlwind to beat the rain, jump in unexpectedly, and get this car qualified last weekend. But the concern for you, obviously, is starting this far back. What's the strategy to move up?
Well, the strategy, obviously, is to get through the first lap. I haven't had a lot of laps in this car, so I got to just kind of bide my time and feel out the car. And, you know, if everything's comfortable, we're going to do everything we can to get up to the front and not get lapped. The leaders are going to be around real quick.
Well, we'll enjoy watching number 84. And now I got a feeling before the 500 is complete, Robbie Buell could become a factor.
He very well could, Gary. And here's another car starting toward the back of the pack. It belongs to Buzz Calkins, his 4th Indy 500. He'll start 26th in the middle of row 9. Now to Jan Beekes with today's Pep Boys Track Fact.
And Al, Buzz's car that he will drive today weighs about 1,600 pounds. That's only about half what an average street car would weigh. Now, the V8 engine that is located behind the driver is about the same size that you might have in a street car, but it makes 5 times the horsepower. When you make that kind of horsepower, you use a lot of fuel. Only 2 miles per gallon for this machine, which means this is a 2.5-mile lap here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 1 gallon will not even take you all the way around. Now, the fuel that's used is methanol. Why methanol? The reason behind it, for safety. If the methanol catches on fire, you can take water, pour it on methanol, it dilutes it, and puts out the flames. The entire package, the price of this, about $450,000, depending on how you have it equipped. Now, for the very first time, they are using a brand new safety device on all the cars here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And they are cables that are being used to connect the wheel assemblies to the chassis itself. Why? Well, these cars are actually designed to break apart in the event of an accident. When it breaks apart, it dissipates energy and it protects the driver. The idea behind a flexible cable, this can bend, and therefore it will keep the wheel assembly and all this attached, although it will still allow it to be crushed. All the drivers are very, very pleased that these are on the cars, but of course they're also hoping they're not the ones that will have to use them.
The car of Buzz Calkins. And there is a buzz right now because the moment is almost at hand. And we'll be back with more coverage of the Indianapolis 500 after this word from our ABC stations. The 1999 edition of the greatest spectacle in racing is just minutes away.
And now just about 10 minutes to the command to start engines. We'll see what drama unfolds in this year's 83rd renewal of the Indy 500. Among the thousands gathered to watch the race today, a very special group of observers. They just took a lap around the track moments ago. 96 Congressional Medal of Honor recipients. Friday, the city of Indianapolis unveiled a beautiful new monument dedicated to the heroic efforts of the Medal of Honor winners. It's the first and only such monument to be found in the country. Time now for the traditional start of the ceremonies at Indianapolis, leading to our national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we would like everyone to please rise, as Pep Boys Indy Racing League is proud to present a very special performer here to honor America by singing the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, Grammy Award-winning performer, Ms. CeCe Winans.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for today's invocation to be given by the spiritual leader known and respected by all denominations the world over. Ladies and gentlemen, the Reverend Billy Graham.
Shall we pray? Our Father and our God, we thank you that you have spared us and blessed us with life and health to enjoy this day that you have made. We thank you for the men and women whom we remember on this Memorial Day weekend. Especially, we thank you for the courage and ability you gave to the recipients of our nation's highest honor, the Congressional Medal of Honor. We remember in reading the scriptures how often sports are mentioned as illustrations of our spiritual lives. We ask your blessing upon this event and all those who participate in it. May each driver and team not only be at the peak of their skill, but may each be at their moral and spiritual best. Give everyone a sense of fair play and good sportsmanship, and protect them from injury. Help them to realize that although earthly rewards are desirable, they are triumphs of the Spirit, which do not always show in the rewards ceremonies today. We ask for spiritual guidance for each of us, whether spectator or participant, that we may be better able to discern your will in the days ahead. Give us the wisdom you have promised to those who ask, and the strength you alone can give. We commit this occasion into your hand, and we say Godspeed. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
So the ceremony continuing, a lot of tradition and through the years with the invocation and the flyover, and the crowd.
Okay, I just turned it on. I'm in it.
Right now is awaiting
On this Memorial Day weekend,
the playing of taps.
we pause here in a moment of silence to pay homage to those individuals who have given their lives unselfishly and unafraid to make it possible for us to witness as free men and women the world's greatest sporting event. We also pay homage to those men and women who have given their lives unselfishly and without fear to make racing the world's most spectacular spectator sport.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the traditional Back Home Again in Indiana to be performed by a man of tradition here in America, here in the heartland, Mr. Jim Neighbors.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning bright through the sycamores for me. The new mown hay sends out its fragrance through the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana home.
For 33 drivers, this is the calm before the storm. If there's a collective voice at this moment in time, it sounds like this.
This is the time you definitely have butterflies.
I try to take all the pressure away from what I'm about to do. I try to forget that it's the Indianapolis 500 and it's just 4 corners and 2 long straightaways.
You're thinking about the start of the race, you're anticipating the moves that you're going to make.
I don't realize all the hype going on outside. It's like I'm in a cocoon. This place is so emotional, especially when you see all this crowd.
Indianapolis 500 is why I race, really.
I always think about 3 hours from now I could be in the winner's circle.
If I'm going to hit the wall, what's this going to feel like?
Sometimes dreams turn into nightmares. You know, that's the only bad thing about this.
You think about your family, you think about your children, you think about the people that have helped you get to this point.
When you're sitting there thinking about your mom and dad and your son and daughter sitting in the stands and your wife standing beside your race car and it's your butt strapped in there. I don't know if lonely's the right word. I think, I don't know what the word is, to be quite honest.
To be able to have the good fortune to win this race is something that you never let go of.
The mantra of the auto driver, the automobile racer, they live in a totally different world. And as you look at that spectacular shot, and that's such a famous panorama at Indianapolis, to have been here and watch this race live is something that everybody should experience at least one time. It is unlike anything in sports. 400,000 people, maybe more, gathering at one venue, and coming up, some of the most famous words in sports. A look there at A.J. Foyt, the 4-time winner.
Well, race fans, we've reached that time. Certainly an emotional time for all of us as we prepare for the start of the 83rd running of this event. Now, here to give those famous words is the chairman of the board of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Mrs. Mary Holman George.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
And that collective roar building to a crescendo. Let's go to Jan Beekes.
And Bobby, you have won this race, but now the engines have fired. You're going to call the race today for Robbie. Which is more nerve-wracking?
I can't hear you very well, but I am going to call the race, run the pit today. Yeah.
Bobby, which one makes you more nervous?
A lot easier to do it myself, I promise you. That's all right. I'm used to doing it, so I should be able to.
All right, let's get to Jerry.
Four-time winner A.J. Foyt, an Indy icon. But, A.J., you haven't been to victory lane since 1977. With 3 cars entered, will that change today?
Well, I hope so. I think we got a good shot. You know, it's regarding how the brakes fall and everything like that. But I got 3 guys that's won race. They know how to win, and we're going to fight them all the way.
Hey, good luck.
Thank you.
Super Tex, super confident.
It would not be an Indy without an Unser, without a Foyt. The link to the past. The 33 engines are roaring, and let's go upstairs now to Bob Jenkins and Tom Sneva.
Thank you, Al. The cars will be pulling away momentarily. Here's the grid. The first row, Arie Luyendyk looking for his 3rd win in his final race. Row 2, teammates Scott Sharp and Mark Dismore. In the 3rd row, last year's series champion Kenny Brack and current points leader Scott Goodyear. The field's fastest rookie John Hollinsworth is in row 4. Row 5 contains Jeff Ward, who led nearly a 4th of the 597, finishing 3rd. The race's defending champion occupies the inside of row 6. In the 7th row, 2 second-time starters and a rookie. The 1996 winner Lazier and former series champ Stewart occupy row number 8. In the 9th row, 15-time starter Roberto Guerrero and the race's 3rd rookie. In row 10, the slowest in the field, Belgium Wim Eichmans. And in the final row, one of the most experienced with 15 starts, Raoul Boisel. Dr. Jack Miller's car has not yet rolled from the grid here along the main straightaway. All the other cars, the other 32, are moving and in fact going through turn number 2 right now. But Dr. Jack Miller's car cannot get started, it would appear. They will have to get this car, of course, off the racetrack if it does not fire, but they continue the effort to get it started. They put this inertia starter in the rear of the car. They have done this several times now, but so far have been unable to get the car to fire. Meanwhile, there are the other 32 starters and the pace cars as they now approach turn number 3 at the end of the backstretch. And for the 2nd straight year, Gary Gerald has the honor of being in one of the pace cars. Gary, what's it look like?
You come through turn 3 right now. To see this from a driver's perspective, the sheer magnitude of this crowd, absolutely breathtaking. People on their feet, cheering, waving. You can only imagine what it's like. We're at only 65 miles per hour. Jay Leno will kick it up shortly to 95. Then the field will be up to the 220 mile per hour speeds that they are used to. What are those drivers thinking about as they're going to be involved in a whirlwind of fumes and dust and dirt and unstable air, trying to calm their hearts, trying to find a niche as the newest hero in American motorsports. It's an absolute thrill to be with this elite field as we come to the front straightaway and you look down into that tunnel of hundreds of thousands of people. I'm honored. I love it. Let's go racing at the Indy 500 as we wrap up a century of racing here. Let's go, Ari.
Arie Luyendyk has given us permission to talk with him as he gets set for his final 500, Tom Sneva.
Ari, Tom Sneva here. Your thoughts this close to the start of your last 500?
Yeah, Tom, things are looking pretty good for us here today. It's unbelievable. The crowd, the fans is what makes this place what it is today. And if I look at this crowd today, it just gives me goosebumps.
Well, good luck to you, Ari. All the best. Have a great day.
All right, thanks, Tom.
A wave to the crowd, the final time that he starts the 500. Jan Beekes, drivers are important, but so are crew members.
You're right, Bob, and of course there will be 6 men that will come over the wall today making the pit stops here on pit road. And it's not just going to be a case of these drivers changing tires and fuel. They're also going to want to change the way the car handles, and let me show you why. At the moment, the track temperature is about 117 degrees. That will go all the way up today to about 128. Now, when it does that, the hotter the track is, the more slick it becomes. So when the cars are in here, you change tires, you put in fuel. You also may change those front wings to give you more grip. Up.
All right, Jan, well, the car of Dr. Jack Miller still has not started. His car still on the straightaway. They're trying to get it off. Here's Jerry Punch.
Bob, the determining factor on how many times a driver will have to visit pit road are fuel calculations and fuel mileage. And these cars hold 35 gallons of methanol. They average 1.8 to 2 miles per gallon. If you do the math, figuring 2.5 miles per lap, They will pit every 27 or 28 laps, or about 7 times during a 500-mile race. However, if the yellows fall just right, there are a handful of teams like this one here, Tice Carlson, who may be able to stretch the field beyond 31 laps and maybe, just maybe, steal a win at Indy. Let's check in with John.
Well, we saw that Dr. Jack Miller could not get underway. It turns out the engine is fine. They have plenty of RPM, plenty of power. It just will not go into gear.
Well, a tough break for Tony Stewart's teammate in this race. Let's take a look at the race analysis. They will go 200 laps, 500 miles. The defending champion is Eddie Cheever, starting back in 16th. He has a new power plant under the car this year. And if all goes green, they will need fuel 24 to 27 laps. How about some of the stories? Well, we've already discussed Arie's final 500. Can Eddie Cheever defend his championship? Tony Stewart, Indy cars here today and stock cars tonight. Greg Ray and Robbie Gordon are Team Menards drivers, and A.J. Foyt has 3 drivers in the field: Billy Boat, Kenny Brack, and Robbie Buell. Now we want to familiarize you with the cars and the ones to keep an eye on perhaps in the early part of the race, so that you will be able to identify them. Here is Arie Luyendyk as he is on the pole position. Eddie Cheever starts back in the 16th position. Tony Stewart, of course, will be starting 24th here this afternoon. There is Eddie Cheever. Well, Tom, what are your final thoughts?
For these guys, as important as their qualifying speed and starting position is their comfort level with those on the dance floor in their area. Who's starting beside you, in front, behind, those dancing in your zone. As a driver, you have a mental book on each competitor. Now these guys are all scratch golfers when we talk about driving skills, but when we talk about controlling emotions at the start of the 500, there might be some double-digit handicaps out there.
And we have another car that has come on to the warm-up lane and will be going into the pits. That is Scott Sharp, and you can see a spray coming out the back of the car. The pace car is off the track. I'm not sure that we will be getting a green here. Perhaps we will. The field looks pretty good as it comes out of corner number 4. Looking for the green here to start the 83rd Indianapolis 500. The green is out, and for the 83rd time, they're racing at Indianapolis. The first half of lap without an incident. Now here they are moving into turn number 4. Arie Luyendyk showing the way at the moment, but here comes Greg Ray charging after him as they open up down the front straightaway. But Arie Luyendyk is going to lead the first lap, the first time he has ever led the opening lap at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But look at the challenge that Greg Ray is presenting already.
Well, no question there. It's really hard to start on that inside row, so Arie did a great job. He's ready to go racing.
An interval now between second and third position. Billy Boat running third, followed by Robbie Gordon and Mark Dismore. The first lap was 199.3. Gary, what is the report on Scott Sharp?
Boy, this is one of those things you hate to talk about, a mental error from the crew. They forgot to take the blocks out of the air box. They weren't getting the air into the engine.
A tough break for Scott Sharp.
Well, and it just leads to the pressure and the emotion and the tension that happens to these crews before the start of the race.
Some great racing going on. They're 3 wide down the straightaway here. That's Hideshi Matsuda on the inside of...
Well, that's Sam Schmidt in the white car down underneath there.
And Eddie Cheever also in this battle. There's Schmidt in the white car with the blue front end.
Schmidt is a teammate to Luyendyk, so he was the quickest car on carburation day, so he's real excited about his chances.
Eddie Cheever is right behind him as they once again go down the backstretch and into turn number 3.
Again, Cheever running the Infinity engine this year, Bob. Surprised a lot of people by switching this close to the 500.
One would wonder why you would correct something that carried you to victory the previous year or change something, but that is exactly what Eddie Cheever did during the offseason. There are the lap speeds, and look, Luyendyk is 4 miles an hour faster than second place Greg Ray, who completed the lap at 2:10.241. There are first and second once again, and the interval now about 0.2 of a second as they come off the fourth turn once again to complete another lap. That's Billy Boat running back there in third spot, but so far all Arie Luyendyk here in the 1999 Indianapolis 500.
Well, that's the front row just as they started, so qualifying obviously meant something to these guys.
Last Thursday was proclaimed Arie Luyendyk Day in the city of Indianapolis by the mayor Steve Goldsmith, and among the many awards that he received during these past 2 weeks is Sagamore of the Wabash, the highest civilian honor that can be handed out in the state of Indiana. And although those are very lofty awards, I'm sure he would trade everything for a victory in his final 500 here this year. How fast is he going? Well, up to 216, now 220 at the end of the straightaway before backing off. You can see the throttle. They do ease off the throttle just a little bit in the corners.
Well, as the race develops, sometimes the track will get faster, sometimes it'll be slower, but he was actually out of the throttle farther than I would have expected him to be this early in the race.
There's the interval between first and second. Back to third, Billy Boat. Fourth is Mark Dismore. In fifth position is Kenny Brack and Robbie Gordon. Many people thought Robbie Gordon would charge a little bit harder than he has here in the early stages. I thought sure he would be up and perhaps in the lead of the race by the second or third lap, but that has not happened.
Well, he's got a pretty good reminder that this is a long race. I think his foot's probably throbbing, and that's probably a good reminder to use your head, be patient. It's a long day.
There's Davey Hamilton in the bright orange car. Hamilton runs back into 13th position. Robbie Unser just ahead of him. John Hollinsworth, the rookie, behind Hamilton as they complete the 6th lap of the race. That's 12th, 13th, and 14th. Hamilton has decided it's time to make a move on Unser to the inside at the end of the backstretch. And Hamilton picks up the spot. That puts him up in 12th position.
Well, Davey's been pretty quiet all month, but he's always had a smile on his face. So, and Robbie Unser has been one of the quickest cars in a lot of the practice sessions. So I'm a little bit surprised that Davey's going towards the front and Robbie's just sitting there.
Jan Beek has told us how important it is to get good teamwork and good pit work. The Dallas crew won the Coors Light pit stop competition Thursday here in Indianapolis, indicating that they will be tough to deal with in the pit area.
Well, these teams take a lot of pride in these contests, and it's a big part of the day. We've got trouble.
Eliseo Salazar slides off of corner number 2 and hits the inside wall. That's race control radio we're hearing.
Hold up, pace car.
You can see the right rear is still connected to the car, so the energy management system obviously did its job on that particular situation, but that car hit the wall pretty hard.
The new system, the suspension and wheel energy management system, was introduced here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway this past week. These tires are attached to the car. There is the crew of Eliseo Salazar. He lost it coming off of corner number 2. It went to the inside and hit the inside retaining wall at a rather hard hit, but the tires and the wheels did stay on the car. Now it's good to see that Salazar is climbing out of the car, apparently okay. He very proudly represents the country of Chile here in the Indianapolis 500. Take a look again at what happened.
Well, again, you can see him, he lost tracks in the back end, came around, hit the outside wall first, but then it shot him right across the racetrack. And again, you can see the right rear tire stays with the vehicle. Again, off the corner, the back end jumps out. He lost the car way back at the apex. It taps the wall, and it really shot the car across the racetrack, Bob. You don't see that often, but he got out of the car. Again, you can see him sideways right here coming out of the corner, and it doesn't look like he hits the outside wall that hard, but it really shot it towards the inside wall.
Hard impact on the right side of the car, but Eliseo Salazar has climbed out and would appear to be okay. We're under caution for the first time here in Indianapolis after 8 laps. Arie Luyendyk leads. The Goodyear blimp at today's Indy 500 is one of the 7 blimps in the Goodyear fleet. The latest one, the Spirit of the South Pacific, debuts this Tuesday in Sydney, Australia. Under yellow here at the Indianapolis 500 for the first time due to an accident involving Eliseo Salazar. Several drivers have taken the opportunity during this caution to come in for a pit stop. We should be getting the race ready to go back to the green. There was also, we understand, an incident in the pit area during this caution.
Well, it looked like we got a crew guy down there, Bob. I'm not sure what happened in there, but we saw wheels flying, and
well, let's take a look here and see if we can determine what happened.
Yeah, 2 cars get together there. That looked like Johnny Unser, and then I'm not sure who, I think it might have been Jimmy Kite pulling out of his pit. They touched wheels, and it turned the car sideways.
There is Kite. Let's go to Jan Beekes.
Well, Johnny Unser is also on pit road, and maybe the answer to our question is the fact that he has no brakes. They are in here trying to fix the brakes for Johnny Unser. So since he was involved, obviously if you came onto pit road, you couldn't stop the car. That may have been a contributing factor. They're trying to do what's called bleed the brakes, but at the moment, Johnny Unser is sitting here, and it may be a while.
We have another angle of this incident in the pits. There is Kite pulling out. He makes contact with, I believe, Jarrett Schrader, and then Kite's car is thrown into some crew members who were working on other vehicles in the area.
Well, that looked like Bosel's, one of Bosel's crewmen is the guy that got toppled, Bob.
So we remain under caution here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the 83rd running of the 500. Back in just a moment. We remain under caution here in Indianapolis due to an incident on the track involving Eliseo Salazar and an incident in the pit area. Well, Saturday, June 5th, live at 4:30 Eastern Time, ABC Sports presents the Run for the Triple Crown as Charismatic goes for the Triple Crown at the Belmont. The last Triple Crown winner was affirmed in 1978. Jim McKay shares his favorite Belmont moment with ABC Sports online at ESPN.com, part of the Go Network. Down to Gary Gerald.
We mentioned the problem on the start of the race for Scott Sharp. David Cribbs, you're on the radio with him. Is this one of those unfortunate things where pressure, somebody made a little mistake?
Yeah, it was one of those unfortunate incidences. We had a problem with the radio right on the grid, and one of the radiator entrance panels that we used just to help warm the car up was left in. We thought at the time that it would be okay, but unfortunately now we've gone a lap down because we started in the pit lane. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but it's a long race, and we're certainly not giving up yet, and it looks like Mark's doing a real good job up at the front there, so hopefully he'll keep those guys in check while we come up through the field.
All right, we'll watch it. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
The 3rd place car of Billy Boat is one of a number of front runners complaining of a push early on. Push meaning the car will not turn in the corner. The reason it's got a push is because they've dialed the back of the car in so tightly, anticipating the sun would be directly on the racetrack. We would have track temperatures well over 125 degrees. That is not the case with partial overcast. The Goodyear engineers tell me the track temperature is 109 right now. But these teams are afraid to adjust it because they think the sun will come back out and it will heat up as the day progresses. Let's check it up pit road with Jan Beekes.
And Jerry, the information down here to the injured crew member is that it was on the number 55 Robby McGee Energizer car, and it was the crew chief, Steve Freed. We have no update on his condition, but he has been taken away from the ambulance. We'll continue to talk with the crew members to try and find out what exactly happened down here. Now, Bob?
The drivers have been given the indication that next time around they will be getting the green flag and the race will resume. There is Robby McGee. Here are the drivers who have advanced in the first few laps of the race. Jeff Ward up 7 spots from his 14th starting position. The number in parentheses indicates where he started. Eddie Cheever has moved up 7 spots from his 16th place start. And Robbie Buell has advanced the most, 10 positions since the drop of the green flag. Wim Eichmann's up 5, and Raul Boisel, who started 33rd, the final starter, is up now to 25th.
Well, Robbie Buell again got in late into the race, and he got into one of A.J. Foyt's cars. So he's got good equipment, and it's obviously showing so far in this race. You know, Bob, we talk about this first incident in the pits. We talk about the emotion for the drivers at the start of the race, but the tension is there for the crew members as well. And some of the drivers' jobs, I can remember when we were here, you had to take the edge off the drivers or off the crew guys before the race. And many times that involved, you know, finding a good-looking gal on the grandstand, and whatever it took to try to break the tension.
Getting set for the restart. The pace car now beginning to accelerate and separating itself from the field as Arie Luyendyk leads them very slowly into turn number 4. Greg Ray is second, Billy Boat third, in fourth is Mark Dismore, and fifth is Kenny Brack. Robby Gordon, Jeff Ward, Scott Goodyear, Eddie Cheever, and Hideshi Matsuda complete the top 10 as we are set to go back to racing. Now, when the event started, Tom Sneva, we saw Luyendyk and Ray take off. I don't think we're going to see that kind of a separation this time, as it looks as if everybody's going to stay pretty much together here. Boat right on Greg Ray's heels.
Well, they've had a little feel of their race car. They know what to expect. At the start of the race, you're really not sure. When you pour it down into that first corner, you're not sure if that thing's going to grip or not. But now they've got a little bit of feel for what to expect, and we'll see what happens.
That's Davey Hamilton in the orange-colored car trying to find a place to go. Look to the inside, couldn't make the move, and so drop back behind. That Scott Goodyear leading that group of cars into turn number 3.
Scott in the yellow and black car led that group into the corner, so Scott's
Jimmy Kite still in the pit area. His is the car that hit the crew member, and we're awaiting word on the condition of Steve Freed from Robbie McGee's team. There's Robbie Gordon. Now, it's going to be difficult to tell that car from Greg Ray's. They are both painted similarly. Look for blue wings on Robbie Gordon's car, the front wings, and Greg Ray has yellow wings.
Right there, that's Robbie Gordon, the blue wings.
Hideshi Matsuda right behind him. The pace is at 215.131, but again, we are seeing Arie Luyendyk, who is leading this race, going a couple of miles an hour faster than anyone else. There is Tice Carlson in that yellow Pennzoil sponsored machine.
And pace is the key right now. You've got to pace yourself. We've got 500 miles, and you know, you don't do much early, but you've got to be there at the end.
Ray continuing to run in second position. You know, Greg Ray was the fastest, except 2 days during the practice. He didn't get the pole. Arie Luyendyk did, and now Luyendyk is setting the pace here in the early going. Why is he so much faster, it would appear, than everybody else at this point?
Well, first of all, Bob, you don't get paid to run fast in practice. You know, Arie's a seasoned veteran. The guy's only got so many heartbeats in there. You don't want to waste them on a practice day, so Arie got it up when he had to, and that's qualifying day. And obviously, he's very happy with that car.
Riding along with Eddie Cheever, who started in 16th position. By the 4th lap, he had gained 6 spots, and now here on the 17th lap, he is up to 7th place. So Eddie Cheever is trying very hard to become the first 2-time winner of Indy since 1970 and 71 when Al Unser won it.
Well, the real question mark here is, again, the engine switch. We know Eddie knows how to get around the racetrack. Now, reliability, one of the keys to the race, is going to be a big factor for Eddie.
Jeff Ward is running right ahead of him. 2 years ago, Ward drove as a teammate with Cheever and finished 3rd, earning Rookie of the Year honors. On board with Cheever now as he sets the car into turn number 3, and you see part of the 400,000 fans gathered here for this great Speed Classic Memorial Day weekend.
He said the car is exactly where he wants it. He's comfortable, he's moving his way through, and like we said, it's not always about qualifying, it's your pace over 500 miles.
year he started in 17th position and charged to the front early. Right now he is up to the 7th position, down to Gary Gerald.
Eliseo Salazar out of the medical facility. You appear to be okay. Can you tell us what happened, Eliseo?
Yeah, I'm perfectly okay. Disappointed because I made a mistake. We had a bad push in traffic, and I tried to compensate, going too close to the inside, and I guess I touched, the rough top past the white line on the inside of 2 with the left side, and the car got loose, and I went to the outside wall. I touched it, and that was it, and then just ricocheted to the other wall.
I know it's disappointing. Thank you. Glad you're all right.
Thank you. Bye.
Eliseo Salazar has crashed the last 3 out of 4 years, and he also failed to finish in the 1998 race.
Well, it was real interesting. He said he had a push, and to compensate, he had to drive the car low to the apex of the corner. He actually might have touched the grass and knocked the back end of the car loose.
Arie Luyendyk leads the Indianapolis 500 over Greg Ray, Kenny Brack, Billy Boat, and Mark Dismore. Back with more live coverage in just a moment. 26 laps have been completed in the 83rd running of the Indianapolis 500. Running in first is Arie Luyendyk. There he is. Fighting in second spot is Greg Ray, about 7/10 of a second behind. Luyendyk has led all the way so far. Here comes Greg Ray in the yellow car coming out of corner number 4. There's Greg Ray. Kenny Brack has moved up to 3rd. Luyendyk beginning to lap some of the slower cars here on the 27th circuit of the race. By the way, Dr. Jack Miller, who had trouble at the beginning, is back in competition. We also might mention that Scott Sharp is several laps down after an earlier problem. There is Dr. Miller. Well, he's back in the pit area.
Yes, and the reason is, Bob, now the clutch has gone. Originally, he could not get the car in gear. Now they have a problem with the clutch. They just cannot get Dr. Jack Miller underway.
Yeah, now they're going to try it again. Boy, it's been a tough day for the Carmel dentist from Carmel, Indiana.
Well, you can see him bouncing a little bit, so he might have a low gear problem there and has to exit it in a taller gear than he'd like.
Gary Gerald is with Johnny Unser.
Crew works behind him trying to repair ailing brakes. Tell us what happened, Johnny, as you came down pit road.
Yeah, we just, that yellow came out and we lost the brakes. It's the strangest thing. It appears that the seals, for some unknown reason, on the calipers have just gone away. And I mean, we don't know the reason right now, and we're not sure exactly what we're going to do, but it appears that we're going to have to replace 2 or 3 of the brake calipers. I mean, it's a shame for the Hemmelgarn team and for Tybo and Homeyer Tools, Delta Faucets, because, you know, they worked so hard on this car and gave me a good car, and it just went away.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
We saw that Eddie Cheever has picked up another position. He got to the inside of Mark Dismore, and Eddie Cheever now moves up to 5th spot.
Well, it was interesting to hear Johnny talk about the brakes. This is not a place where you use brakes or you don't abuse brakes, because the only time you use them basically is when you come into the pit. So it's probably not something anybody really focuses on.
Buddy Lazier heads for pit road. We're on lap number 29 of the race, and Lazier hits his pit box, and the crew goes to work.
Well, it's time for routine stops. You know, these guys need fuel, so we're going to see all the top guys starting to head towards the pits.
That was Jimmy Kite running very slowly on the racetrack. Lazier's work is completed in a little more than 11 seconds, and he's back in competition, and the caution is going to come out because of Jimmy Kite running very slowly. It appears as if the car has made the warm-up lane. Nevertheless, the caution comes out. That's going to bring out the pace car. That's going to bunch up the field, and it's also going to allow several drivers to make their pit stops under caution.
Well,
now they're not going to go yellow. Apparently, since he did make the warm-up lane, as we indicated, they are going to keep racing.
That could have been a terrible break for Lazier. You know, he just came in, and if the yellow would have come out, that could have destroyed his day.
Good racing going on here. That's over in turn number 3. Eddie Cheever once again trying to pick up positions.
Well, again, this is just a tremendous effort by Eddie and his crew. You know, the Infiniti motor, there were some real question marks. A lot of people thought it didn't have the speed to be competitive, but it's showing the boys the way around right now.
Saw Billy Boat dive off into the pits. Scott Goodyear and Mark Dismore doing battle, with Goodyear picking up the position and moving up to 5th spot. Dismore back to 6th. both Foyt and Breck are in, Jerry Punch.
Both the A.J. Foyt cars making their first scheduled pit stop here on lap 31. Neither crew chief planning any adjustments, just 4 tires, get it completely full of methanol and down and away. They're waiting to get Billy Bode's car full. He is away as Kenny Brack has already left pit road.
So both of two of A.J. Foyt's cars are in and out. We welcome you to the Indianapolis 500, the 83rd running of this great speed classic. 32 laps into the race. Arie Luyendyk has led all the way. We've had one caution involving Eliseo Salazar, an accident over in turn number 2. He is okay. There was also an incident on pit road, and we'll update the condition of that individual a little bit later. Now we're seeing wholesale pit stops here. Cheever is in, so is Scott Goodyear and many, many others.
Well, yeah, it looked like the yellow could have been out, but everybody, there are a lot of cars came in on that lap, Bob.
Here's Luyendyk, who's slowly moving down at 80 miles an hour toward his pit box. Gary?
Well, these guys have waited a long time for their first crack at action. Let's see how they perform for the Treadway team. Luyendyk, the early pace setter, the early leader. Skip Fall at the right front. The veteran in his final 500 hits the mark perfectly. He rejects the drink bottle. We'll see if they make a change up front regarding the wings. Nothing thus far. Service complete. Luyendyk on the roll. We got him at just under 13 seconds.
Saw Scott Goodyear beat him out of the pits. That's Scott just ahead of Arie as we're on board on the warm-up lane. This is the area they must use when coming in and out of the pit area. And now Greg Ray, it would appear, has decided to come in for his stop. And Dr. Jerry Punch, he's coming toward you.
Greg Ray, who's had the fastest car all but 2 days of practice this month of May, hoping to get his first win for Team Menard. In his 20th anniversary of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the car number 2 came down pit road as a leader, and now Thomas Knapp and the crew will go to work. No adjustments planned. 4 tires, full of fuel, trying to be very, very deliberate in each pit stop. Get it full of fuel completely so you can make the fuel mileage work in your favor. Waiting. Finally, it's off the air jack. 13.6 seconds, he is down and away.
Good stop for Ray as he goes back into competition.
Well, not quite as good as Arie's pit stop, though, but these pit stops early are actually going to be faster than we're going to see later in the race because they have a full head of fuel in these tanks. It's all gravity fed.
And we do have a yellow. There was a car stalled in the warm-up lane. No problem as far as an accident, but we are under caution for the second time. And we'll be back with more coverage of the Indianapolis 500 after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Back at Indianapolis, the Pep Boys Indy Racing League, the Indianapolis 500, 36 of 200 laps complete. And we are still under the yellow flag before this huge crowd. If you're joining us late, it was a very clean start. 32 cars taking the green flag. Jack Miller's car couldn't make it. And it was Arie Luyendyk for the first time in his career in his very last race who led the first lap for the first time ever, the first incident. Eliseo Salazar going into the outside wall, spinning all the way across to the inside retaining wall, but he was fine. That took place on lap 9. And you're up to date at Indy. And back up now to Bob Jenkins and Tom Sneva. Gents.
Sam Schmidt was shown as the leader of the race when the caution came out because of the stalled car. He has just completed his pit work and now is back out there.
Well, most of the contenders stopped under the green, but Schmidt and Tony Stewart, starting towards the back, were able to stretch the fuel mileage and get to that first yellow.
We'll show you Sam Schmidt as he came down on pit road and hit his mark perfectly, and the crew went to work.
Well, it's a lot easier to do this under the yellow. There's not nearly as much pressure on this crew when the yellow is out.
In less than 15 seconds, 4 tires changed, the car full of fuel, and back out there in competition. We're riding along with Arie Luyendyk, but right now down to Jan Beekes.
Well, we talked about Jimmy Kite. Unfortunately, he was the driver that got into one of the crew members down for Robbie McGee. What happened as you were trying to leave the pits?
I mean, the guys waved me out, and I pulled out, and there was a car on my right. I mean, I tried to pull out into the slow lane, and we hit, and as soon as I got hit, it broke my steering. I mean, I was on the brakes as hard as I could. It just, you know, there's nothing you can do with broken steering. I mean, I don't even, you know, I feel bad right now. I mean, there's nothing I can do. You know, I hope everybody down there is okay, and, you know, I apologize to the families. I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, it's the most helpless feeling I've ever had.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Jimmy Kite not only out of the race, but also suffering because his car was the one that made contact with Steve Free, the crew chief on the number 55 car that has injured him. We'll be back in a moment. 39 laps completed in the 83rd running of the Indianapolis 500. That is the rundown as they stand right now, with Arie Luyendyk the leader, Greg Ray second, rookie Robbie McGee up to 6th position, and Eddie Cheever is up to 10th. Now we'll take a look at those who have gained significantly since the start of the race. Stewart is up 19 spots, McGee up 21, Boycell has gained 26 from his 33rd and last starting position. Calkins up 18, and Buell has advanced 16 positions as the green flag waves, and we are back to competition at Indianapolis.
You can see everybody looking for a spot to get around. A lot of people got a little bit better jumper, anticipated that start better than some of the ones in the back.
Luyendyk is the leader of the race, but he is not at the front of the field at this time. Those drivers that are running ahead of him are actually almost a full lap down.
Well, one of those is Eddie Cheever, who's trying to maintain that lead in the pack. He's very fast. He's come to the front, but he's got caught up with this pit stop situation.
It was an ill-timed caution because many had just come in for pit stops when that caution came out, and therefore those that had pitted were in a sense penalized because all those who had not were able to come in to get a pit stop under a caution. But there is the leader, Luyendyk. And Dr. Jerry Punch reports from pit road.
Actually, Bob, we're back in the garage area. Dr. Jack Miller, you had problems almost from the start. What happened?
It was from the start. I don't know, when they said, gentlemen, start your engines, we fired up fine. As soon as we went to pull off the grid, put it in gear, and it just stopped. And it was like the clutch wasn't engaging, or letting the disengage in, actually. And we just kept pushing. We finally took the stop away from the clutch, got it out there, but every time I'd lift off the throttle or whatever, the car would want to come out of gear. So driving with the left hand and holding it in the right, the gear shifter with the right hand is just going to make a long day. So we thought we'd bring it back here, make some adjustments to get back out there.
Well, the crew's going to work on it and try to get him back on the racetrack. Bob?
We're watching Tony Stewart. He runs in 5th position at the moment.
And Bob, for Tony Stewart on the last pit stop, they gave him 1 turn of front wing on both sides. Obviously, the big benefit for him was when he pitted, but they've also improved the handling of that car.
When they give him the front wing, Bob, that indicates that he had some understeer. The car wouldn't turn. The front tires were actually sliding when he went into the corner. He couldn't turn the car, so they put more downforce, more aerodynamic grip on the front of the car to try to get the balance right.
Tony has had bad luck here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the past as we watch his telemetry up to about 230 miles an hour at times. He's a kid who grew up in the Indianapolis area. Wants so much to win this race that he has been attending since a child. Top 5, Luyendyk, Greg Ray, Schmidt, Breck, and Stewart.
Well, Sam Schmidt was able to catch that yellow, took big advantage of that, and moved way up in the standings.
There are about 10 cars that are on the tail end of the lead lap ahead of Luyendyk. They include Cheever and Robbie Unser and Jeff Ward, Scott Goodyear, Billy Boat, Johns Hollinsworth, Robbie Buell, Davey Hamilton, Buddy Lazier, and Mark Dismore, all those suffering because of that ill-timed caution.
Well, this shot we're seeing right now is out the back of Luyendyk's car, and that's Greg Ray, who's not that far behind right now, and it looks like he's closing the gap.
And this would be our first lead change on the racetrack. Schmidt has led under caution, and indeed Greg Ray goes to the front and takes over command of the Indy 500.
Well, again, he was able to take advantage of the pit stop, make an adjustment on the car, and obviously has improved the handling of that vehicle.
On board with Arie Luyendyk, and now for the first time this afternoon, he is not the leader of the race. Gary Gerald has more.
Bob, this is almost by design. Arie's game plan coming in was to just see what developed. If he was challenged by Ray, they'd say they'd let him go. They don't want him to run away and hide, but they just want to keep the race pace, stay out of trouble. Greg Ray's team, on the other hand, said at the last pit stop, if we get an opportunity, we will go. We'll go for it. So there he is, Ray in front for the first time, but no concern from Arie's camp.
On the last in-car of Arie's car, you could see him going to the radio button, and he's probably asking the crew, where did Ray come from?
Jerry Punch, we also noticed that Buzz Calkins is having trouble.
Bob, they are pushing his car back in the garage area. He sits in the race car as we go along beside. Apparently, they've had a problem with the gearbox, and they're going to try to get it in here. Remember, last year was the first year you could come back to the garage, repair the car, and get back in the Indy 500s. These guys are hustling back to the garage to try to get the gearbox looked at and possibly get Buzz back out.
Greg Ray now bearing down on Mark Dismore, trying to put him a full lap down, unable to do so at the moment. Here comes Luyendyk running in second spot, and his teammate Sam Schmidt is right behind him. And Tom Schmidt is doing a good job here in the early going.
Well, you know, equipment's a big part of this event, and being on the same team with Luyendyk, both those cars are obviously set up to go to the front.
Tom, there's one interesting difference between Arie's car and his teammate Schmidt's car. I know you're familiar with what they've done from G-Force with the suspension pieces on Arie's car. There have been some aerodynamic tweaks that will be standard on the 2000 models next year, but Schmidt does not have that advantage. They think it might be worth 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles per hour under ideal conditions. So there's a little added incentive or advantage for Arie Luyendyk.
Well, you know, when you're number one on the team, sometimes you get more cookies than the other guy. And with Luyendyk's, there's aerodynamic tubing that controls the front suspension of the car, and they use an aerodynamic tube. They actually spent a lot of money on this car to try to tighten up the bend on that tube. According to their engineer, they feel they've reduced the frontal area by 20 inches on Luyendyk's car.
Well, we hear about how weather conditions change the track and how cars will change their handling during the course of a race. But how does strategy change during the race? That's a question we put to the current leader, Greg Ray.
500 miles is a very long way. You don't want to put yourself in position to be taken out. You don't want to lose focus, so you create an incident. Certainly you're trying to take care of your equipment so you don't abuse it, so you don't have a failure. You know, when you get close to the end of the race, you put all that aside, certainly if you're in position to win, and it then becomes a sprint race. And so you want to make sure you get to the point where you can be part of that sprint race.
Greg Ray led 18 laps here at the Indy 500 last year. He has, however, suffered 2 DNFs, but right now he is the leader of the race, but right behind him is Arie Luyendyk. In fact, the interval is just about 2 car lengths as they head into the North Short Chute.
Well, there's good traffic here, so a big part of the driver's job is anticipating the traffic situation. Boy, there was trouble right in front of Ray right there.
Like Ray tried to take some evasive action. Here he is now going to the inside of Mark Dismore. Oh, and Luyendyk and Ray go wheel to wheel into the corner, and Ray survives. They have put Mark Dismore a lap down.
Well, Luyendyk had 2 or 3 cars break and win for him, and it gave him a little bit better run on the traffic than Greg Ray had, and he was almost able to make that pass.
Now Sam Schmidt trying to get to the inside of Dismore and put him also a lap down. Well, Sunday, June 6th, here on ABC Sports, the Women's USA versus Canada national soccer team match. With a goal in her last game, US forward Mia Hamm became the most prolific goal scorer in the history of international soccer, men or women, with 108 international goals. Join us at 2 o'clock Eastern Time, Sunday, June 6th, for Women's USA versus Canada national soccer. Well, it's Greg Ray, followed by Arie Luyendyk, Sam Schmidt, Kenny Brack, and Tony Stewart, the top 5 in the 83rd running of the Indianapolis 500. The race already more than a fourth of the way over. 54 laps completed at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Greg Ray is the leader. The green race average is above 208 miles an hour. We've had 3 leaders, 4 lead changes, and 2 caution periods for a total of 12 laps, and 2 cars so far are out of competition. Now our national car rental fastest laps of the day, and this graphic, Tom Sneva, is dominated by just 2 drivers, Luyendyk and Ray, with Luyendyk at the top of the chart. His fastest lap so far in the 500, 2:17.5.
Well, we're just a quarter away through this thing. I think there's going to be other leaders shortly.
Well, let's check the storylines that we developed before the race started. Arie in his final 500, currently 3rd. How about Eddie Cheever? He's moved up well, currently 8th. Tony Stewart is 5th. Greg Ray is the leader. Robby Gordon, not the performance that perhaps many expected. He's back in 18th. Foyt's team still running well, all in the top 13, led by Kenny Brack. Gary Gerald has an update on Robby Gordon.
Well, the reason that he had fallen back, Bob, they had a tremendous vibration on a set of tires right after they had made their first pit stop. So unfortunately, he had to make an immediate second stop. That's what put him a lap down. But he has worked his way from 23rd back up now to 17th. So he's gained 6 spots. He's clearly on the move, but those vibration in the tires were really costly early.
Well, Tom Sneva, the guy that we've been watching for the last few laps, is Kenny Brack, who has moved to 2nd. He's just car lengths behind the leader, Greg Ray.
Well, you know, we knew it just a matter of time before we started hearing from AJ's boys, but Kenny Brack's eyeballs are wide open right now. He's hunting them down.
He has put Arie Luyendyk back to 3rd. And this is how he did it. Off of corner number 2, down the backstretch, and what a move.
Well, again, he's the 3rd guy in line, so he's able to get a little more aero help than the 2nd guy in line, which was Luyendyk, so he's able to get enough of a run to make the pass.
And that 3rd car was John Hollinsworth, the rookie. So now it becomes a battle up front. Greg Ray as he works traffic up ahead, and Kenny Brack just sitting there seeing what's going to happen.
Well, Bob, what's really interesting is right in front of Ray, the yellow car, is Buddy Lazier. Now, Buddy was real happy with his race car. They worked real hard on that setup, so he's trying to stay in front, keep from going a lap down, and here comes Ray, or here comes Kenny Brack.
And Brack takes the lead at the end of the backstretch into turn number 3.
Look at Luyendyk. Luyendyk's looking under Ray.
Luyendyk falls in behind Ray off of corner number 4. Down the front straightaway, he darts to the inside. And Luyendyk trying to take the 2nd spot away from Greg Ray. He does.
Well, what happened, see, Ray, he lost the air in the front of the car when Luyendyk got underneath him, so you got to roll out of the throttle. When he does, Sam Schmidt goes by also.
Schmidt having a heck of a run here this afternoon. So Luyendyk moves to 2nd, Schmidt 3rd, putting Greg Ray back to 4th. Ray led just moments ago, but the leader of the race now is Kenny Brack. He led 23 laps here last year.
Well, that's Lazier on the inside. He's just getting passed by all the leaders right now, so I'm not sure if he's got a problem. Yep, that's Lazier going into the pits.
Let's check the speeds at the line, see who is the fastest at this point. Right now it's Breck. There's Lazier, who has come in, but he's been having some major handling problems. Looks like the fastest on that last lap was Tony Stewart, who is back in the 5th position. The crew, the Himmelgarn crew, getting Buddy Lazier serviced, and Lazier pulls back into competition.
Well, you could see them put some front wing into the car. They turned it, but it didn't turn it very far. But what they can do is adjust air pressure on the tires. And these tires are very sensitive to air pressure changes. So even though it didn't look like they did much, we can't tell what they did on pressures.
Group of cars running together here. Look at those.
Whoa, we got trouble.
Oh,
we got trouble.
Car into the
Yellow,
wall.
yellow. Turn 1. Pits are closed. Pits are closed. Car 14 scenery.
Yep.
Turn 2.
Sam Schmidt.
Yep.
Sam Schmidt. Heavy traffic, Bob. I mean, they were all ganged up there, and if you just roll out of the throttle a little bit, it can really affect the balance on the car.
But again, we look at this suspension and tire energy management system, and the left rear wheel stayed on the car. The pits are closed right now. That's the indication to the drivers that they cannot pit without penalty. They must wait until the pace car comes out and picks up the leader, forms up the pack, and then they can pit. Let's take a look at this incident, which has put Sam Schmidt into the wall. This is Luyendyk's.
Well, look at Sam. You could see him really close the gap on Luyendyk. And when he saw that he was closing the gap faster than expected, he had to roll out of the throttle. When he rolls out of the throttle, the car twitched, and boy, it's just small mistakes at these speeds lead to big problems.
Sam Schmidt, knowing that he had a good run, now suffers disappointment that he will carry for a long time.
Well, you can see the traffic. Luyendyk's rolled out of the throttle. Some of these guys have rolled back. Sam didn't quite catch it quick enough. Luyendyk slowing down surprised him a little, Bob, and jumped out of the throttle just a little. You can see the traffic, and Sam just slides into the outer wall.
And a good job of driving by John Hollinsworth, who was right there with the crash and did a fine job of avoiding hitting Schmidt as he slid up to the wall. Tony Stewart was right behind him, or perhaps Greg Ray was right behind him when the incident occurred. So we're under caution once again, and we'll be back with more coverage of the Indianapolis 500 after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Pep Boys Indy Racing League welcomes you back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 83rd running of the 500-mile race. 65 laps have been completed. We're under our third caution of the day. The first caution was for a crash involving Eliseo Salazar. He's okay. Second caution was for a stalled car. The third caution here that we are currently under was caused by an incident involving Sam Schmidt down in turn number 1. He also has climbed from the car and is okay. Now, during this caution, we have had several pit stops. And this is a look at our pit summary. Luyendyk came into the pits in second and comes out as the leader. He and Breck traded places. Ray stayed third. McGee climbs from 5th to 4th, and Scott Goodyear also picking up 3 positions as a result of the pit stops that were just concluded.
It was a battle in the pits, Bob. It was fun to watch. They were nose and nose. I couldn't tell who beat who out of the pits, but both teams were on the mark.
Well, the Goodyear blimp, Spirit of Akron, is cruising at an altitude of 1,000 feet above the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in relatively clear skies, partly cloudy. 35 miles an hour is the speed of the Goodyear blimp, considerably about 200 miles an hour slower than these cars are competing at here at Indy.
Well, I got to drive that thing once, Bob, and they don't react very fast either.
I got to ride in it once, and I quite enjoy it. I like to go a little faster than the Goodyear blimp goes. Still under caution here as Arie Luyendyk is now shown as the leader of the race. Let's go down and check the recently concluded pit stops, starting with Gary Gerald.
You guys were talking about the performance on Arie Luyendyk's machine. 11.3 seconds. It was absolutely flawless. These guys knew it. They loved it. We checked with Skip Ball, I should say. They have made no changes whatsoever in the course of the race. They haven't even altered air pressure on the tires. This car has been perfectly prepared for the conditions today. Jan?
Well, Gary, Tony Stewart, their team, the Home Depot team, took a full 30 seconds to make a pit stop, and here's why. They changed the wicker bill. I'll show you what a wicker bill is. It sits on the back of the wing, and they changed it by only 1/16 of an inch. They made it bigger. His car was too loose. The back was kicking out. This gives you more downforce at the back end. It took longer, but Stewart should be faster. Jerry?
And then on the A.J. Foyt pit, Kenny Brack's crew took about 12.5 seconds. They have not made a single adjustment on the car since the race began. Tommy Lamance, running this team behind me, says we have not had to change anything at all. I asked him about the concern about the move Breck made to go to the front and take the lead. He said, no, we're not concerned at all about his pace. We're very, very comfortable here as we approach the halfway. Bob?
Right now, Kenny Brack is second at the 500. Second to Arie Luyendyk, Greg Ray, Robbie McGee, and Scott Goodyear, the top 5. Part of the huge crowd here at Indianapolis. There's the leaderboard, the top 11, 67 laps out of 200 completed here in the 83rd running of the 500. And it all depends who hits the line first as to how they line up on the track after pits.
Well, it does, and it was very, very close.
Luyendyk says, go ahead, you were there first. So Arie Luyendyk will have the lead of the race when we go back to green, and we should do that here in just about another less than half a lap.
Just a quick word on Greg Ray. He was struggling just before that pit stop, sliding back from the lead. They gave him a little more downforce all the way around on the car when they sent him out. Be interesting to see now if he is effectively fast the way he was early.
Well, when they give it more downforce, Gary, as you know, it can cause drag in the car, but they did go to both ends. Usually the guys are just trying to fix one end or the other. The car's either pushing or loose. But these guys actually added wicker on both the front wings and the rear wing.
Off corner number 4, the green flag comes out. We're back to racing at Indianapolis on lap number 70. The charge begins down the front straightaway. Luyendyk leads him into the corner. That white car of Kenny Brack is running in second spot. Boy, it's 2x2 through there. Some tight competition. Whoa.
Heavy traffic. Some great stuff there. Again, the leaders got stuck not in the middle of the pack and not at the head of that restart.
Looking back on Scott Sharp, who is several laps down as a result of a problem very early, even before the green flag come out.
Well, this is good stuff. They're all looking for a spot to get by, but when they're 3 and 4 wide, Bob, it's tough to find a spot of real estate to go with. Inside Scott Sharp's car, he's sort of right in the middle of this act.
Greg Ray and John Hollinsworth running there with him. Hollinsworth, the rookie, gives them room on the low side of the racetrack.
Well, that's Dismore right in front of him, so they made changes to that car and made some serious improvements.
Dismore gets to the inside coming off the corner. Greg Ray running second.
That's Scott Goodyear we just saw, and right in front of him was Robbie Gordon, who again has made some changes, and it looks like they've got that thing running better.
Clear racetrack up ahead at this point for Kenny Brack.
And again, Kenny did a great job in the heavy traffic early off that restart, was able to get through the traffic just a little bit easier or a little smoother than Luyendyk and Ray. So it's going to be fun to watch now, Bob. Let's see who can close the gap or who's the fastest on the racetrack at this point.
Kenny Brack trying to become the first reigning national champion since Bobby Unser in 1975 to go on and win the Indy 500. Well, Monday, August the 2nd, live at 8 o'clock Eastern time, the showdown at Sherwood. David Duval against Tiger Woods, top-ranked David Duval. Current PGA money leader with 11 PGA championships, including the 99 Players Championship. And, of course, Tiger Woods has 8 PGA Tour wins, including the 97 Masters. That's Monday, August the 2nd, live at 8 o'clock here on ABC.
Well, we talked about handicaps at the start of the race. When you mentioned those two guys, those handicaps don't add up to much right there. And that's Greg Ray trying to get by Dismore. Now Dismore, again, we saw him earlier have trouble. Was easy mark for these guys, but they made some adjustment. That car is a lot better right now.
I mentioned a few minutes ago that Scott Sharp was several laps down. Actually, he is only 1 lap down right now, being shown in the 15th position. Ray comes down, completes lap number 73. The interval between himself and the leader, Kenny Brack, is a little more than a second and a half.
Again, there's just a car separating Greg Ray and Robbie Gordon right now. So Robbie has made that car a lot better.
Greg Ray says he used to set the alarm at 2 o'clock in the morning so he could wake up and watch ESPN when they ran the old Indy 500 films and videos, dreaming about how someday he wanted to compete here. And he is. For the 3rd time, listening to Greg Ray's radio.
Well, you hear the crew chief sort of entertaining him by saying, go, go, go. I don't know if we can see him on that part of the racetrack or not, but always encouragement from all levels of the race team.
On board with Buddy Lazier, who's in 22nd position. Certainly not the race that we had expected to see from Buddy Lazier, as he's always a hard charger and, of course, a former champion here at Indianapolis. You see the traffic going by, entering turn number 3.
Yeah, just before that, you saw him take his left hand off the steering wheel. The left hand is the hand used to to move the sway bars, the NA roll bars, things that you can maybe try to adjust the balance on the car, but Buddy's obviously not very happy right now.
Whoa.
Dismore and Goodyear with a close call entering one.
Well, it surprised Scott a little bit. He didn't realize he was there, and that's where you give it that little speed wobble, and that increases the heart rate substantially.
Scott Goodyear running in the 4th position at the moment. He started in 9th, fell back to as far as 14th on lap 36, but now is in 4th. Caught a glimpse of Eddie Cheever there, who's currently in 7th position.
But you can see Goodyear got a big run on Lazier coming off the corner. That means he was able to get the pedal down back to the floor quicker than Lazier. And the pass is made at the other end of the racetrack, but that pass was initiated coming off the previous turn by Scott being able to use a little more throttle, a little quicker on the exit of that previous corner.
Once again, there's Greg Ray and Arie Luyendyk running in 2nd and 3rd position, as 76 laps have now been completed on board with Luyendyk.
You can see Arie, he moves his hands around on that steering wheel. Now this is not a typical deal. You don't have to turn the wheel very far, but Arie, he puts his hands up, he jumps the hands around, puts that right hand on top of the wheel as he enters the corner.
There's Eddie Cheever. Back in 6th position now as he's picked up a spot on Roberto Moreno. And Cheever now sets his sights on the rookie, Robbie McGee, who's having a tremendous race. That is McGee right ahead of him. That now we're looking back from Lazier onto the car of Robbie McGee. And what a tremendous race this young 25-year-old from St. Louis is doing. Jan has an update.
Yes, for Steve Freed, the latest update that we have is they have taken him to Methodist Hospital. He is in critical condition, and that's all the information we have at this time. But imagine this, guys. That would demoralize and certainly has changed the emotion down here for this crew. But the Energizer crew has regrouped. They have changed positions because he was changing the right front. They made some of the quickest stops we've seen here on pit road, and now he's running in 5th spot.
Can you imagine the emotion going through Robbie McGee if he indeed knows it? Running so well here in his first 500, but also carrying that with him.
Well, how about the Energizer Bunny that's probably riding along with him, Bob? I mean, it's got to have his attention.
McGee in 5th spot. Graduate of the USF 2000 series, which has produced several of the drivers coming to Indianapolis. Remember, there were 4 rookies as we entered this event. McGee is the best so far in terms of where they are. The numbers in parentheses indicate where they started, and on the left where they are right now. So Wim Eichmans is 2nd best in the rookie category. There's the leader of the race, Kenny Brack, is now coming up on 80 laps, about to be concluded. There's 2nd place Greg Ray. Arie Luyendyk is right behind him. Speed of the race, well, the leader turning laps at about 210 miles an hour. The fastest traveler this most recent lap completed was Scott Goodyear, with the lap at more than 211. Goodyear back in 4th.
Scott, he's been around this place a long time, been very close to winning more than one race here, and he's a guy that's going to use his head, and if that thing's running at the end, he's going to be close to the front.
There's Luyendyk. As we enter this race, Arie was ranked 40th in all-time Indy 500 laps led. He has led 44 laps so far today. That's moved him up to 28th on the all-time lap leader list. Tough break for Donnie Beechler, one of the short track open wheel drivers who has come here to Indianapolis, and unfortunately it would appear as if his day is over. If not, certainly they're going to have to take the car back to the garage area and do some repairs. So a disappointing 83rd Indy 500 from Donnie Beechler from Springfield, Illinois.
this is good stuff, Bob. I mean, the top 3-4 cars are very, very close to each other, and they're just sort of pacing themselves. We've got a long ways to go.
Scott Sharp has come in, heating the black flag. Apparently, the observers around the course have noticed some fluid coming from that car once again.
I would hazard a guess we're done, buddy. I would hazard a guess we're done. Just as soon as you get in, switch it off. Stay in the car, though. The last change you made was pretty damn good, David. We're flying. We had an awesome race car. We really did. Side point off.
Well, you can see him talking about it. The drivers are easily entertained. They got the balance on that car right, and he was happy with the car, even though he's out of the 500.
Look at this down the straightaway. Wow! And Breck has lost the lead. Breck falls back to third.
Well, again, it's a traffic situation, Bob. The traffic is amazing.
Wheel to wheel through the corner between Greg Ray and Arie Luyendyk for the lead.
Again, it's just anticipating, predicting what the driver in front of you is going to do when you get to him. And that's a tough job. And sometimes being the leader, you're at a disadvantage, and sometimes it's in your favor.
Oh, all the way around the corner, wheel to wheel are Luyendyk and Breck for second, and they go through three wheel to wheel, and they're doing it through four. Great battle here for second spot, and they come down the straightaway.
Wow, Kenny Brack didn't give up on him. I mean, it feels like we're in the last couple laps, but we're not, Bob.
Wow. Luyendyk holding on to second spot, but that was a thrilling half lap. While all that was going on, of course, Greg Ray was able to get the lead. So put Ray Brack at the front of the field at Indy.
Well, we got some good stuff happening. Look at these guys aren't done with it yet. That's Robbie Gordon going underneath Kenny Brack. Breck's probably trying to get his heartbeat somewhat calmed down before he goes after these guys again.
Gordon is not on the lead lap. He's a lap down in 14th position, but still running well.
Well, again, they've changed the balance. They've had a couple pit stops now, and he's got the car more to his liking. The question is, can he make up the time he lost early?
While we were watching that terrific struggle, Mark Dismore was able to unlap himself. Down to Gary, who's with Sam Schmidt.
Sam Schmidt, it looked like your teammate Arie Luyendyk checked up, and that made you a victim. Was that the correct view of that scenario?
Yeah, I mean, it's my fault. I mean, it had nothing to do with him. We were just kind of running around at a cautious pace, and there was a lot of slicing and dicing going on even for this early. And Arie got in there behind some lap traffic, and I think he was fighting with Greg a little bit, trying to get the position. And it just checked up more than I thought he would. We went in there and just at turning got into the marbles and tried to get it down there, and it just never came back. And I just crushed for the team. I mean, we had so much going for us this race, and the car was absolutely hooked up. And they did a fantastic job preparing the car, and we were just going to drive around, you know, and really frustrating.
Thank you, Sam. Glad you're all right. Let's go to Jerry.
Scott Sharp still sitting on pit road. Mike Horvath and the crew have taken both the cowl coverings off. The problem is the engine is overheating in Scott Sharp's car. They're going to try to get him back out and get some valuable points. They've used a couple of fire extinguishers to try to redirect some air to the radiators on both sides, but apparently the temperature gauges are showing inside the temperature is way, way too hot. Sharp pulled away and will try to last, but probably we're not sure for how long.
Been a tough day for Scott Sharp, but not for Greg Ray. He's the leader of the Indy 500 with 86 laps completed. Arie Luyendyk second, followed by Kenny Brack, Scott Goodyear, and last year's winner, Eddie Cheever. The Pep Boys Indy Racing League welcome you back to the greatest spectacle in racing, the 83rd running of the Indianapolis 500. 91 laps have been completed, so we're nearing the halfway point. The leader is Greg Ray. Arie Luyendyk is second. There's the interval between the two. That's Ray there in the yellow car putting a lap on Jimmy Kite, but Luyendyk is right behind him. Kenny Brack is third, followed by Scott Goodyear and Eddie Cheever. Down to Gary Gerald, who's with Scott Sharp.
Scott, have you ever had a more frustrating day in your racing career?
I don't think so. You know, there's so much anticipation, so much money, time. I feel really bad for Delphi and the Kellys. You know, they poured a lot into this race, and I guess just a bit of an error at the start. You know, we left our radiator ducts in there to keep the temperatures up, and on the pace lap we probably overheated the engine because we got the chassis working really well, but it just never had much steam down the straightaway. And that last run, it was just getting slower and slower and slower, and we cooked ourselves.
Yep.
All right, we've got a yellow.
And we have a yellow. Steve Knapp has crashed. car into the wall. He is the Rookie of the Year from last year here at Indianapolis.
Well,
the caution comes out on lap 93, Tom.
He finished third last year, did a heck of a job, but you can see the disgust. He takes the wheel off. He's moving around, so it looks like we don't have any injury problems, but
that thing that he threw out, Tom, was a head restraint, which is something else that the Pep Boys Indy Racing League has mandated and has certainly been beneficial to some of these drivers who take up to 80 Gs when they hit the wall.
Well, we saw a couple 80 G crashes during the month. That doesn't look like that one was that severe, but the safety things really do improve their chances. Well, again, that's sort of unusual. We kept this a little bit late. I think that thing started on the other side of that short chute, but when we see it, he's in an unusual place in the racetrack, so I'm not sure how it got started. Again, we see it real late. The car's real low, and it's doing some kind of weird spin. I don't know if it's already hit the wall somewhere and knocked something loose.
Well, looks like that Steve Knapp is all right. He is out of the car and appears to be okay. Down to Jerry Punch with Donnie Beechler.
Donnie, the big concern today was an engine that had some miles on it. Is that what put you out?
Yeah, we were very concerned about that, but we were out there just trying to keep a consistent pace going. And the last probably 3 or 4 laps, we've seen the fuel or the oil pressure fluctuating, and then all of a sudden it just went to 0. I think we broke a shaft in the oil pump, and then the engine let go.
A tough day for the former sprint car ace, Donnie Beechler. Bob?
Beechler among those who will watch the rest of the race from the sidelines. We're under our 4th caution of the day here at Indianapolis.
And he talked about the oil pump. If you don't pump oil, the engine gets real hot and usually end up with more ventilation holes in the side of that motor than you initially want.
Nearing the halfway point of the Indy 500, we'll be back with more coverage of the Indianapolis 500 after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
And welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Pep Boys Indy Racing League, featuring the Indianapolis 500. Al Michaels with a reset as we are about halfway through this 83rd edition of the Indianapolis 500. Right now we are under yellow, and it's really become a 3-man race at this particular point. And really very little surprise in as much as Arie Luyendyk figured to be there, and he was. In fact, he had the lead all the way from lap 1 through lap 45. When he was finally overtaken, as we take a look back to that point in the race, on the 45th lap, it was Greg Ray who had started just outside Luyendyk on row 1, who was stalking him, moved by on the inside, and assumed the lead. That was the first lead change of the day. Then on lap 54, Kenny Brack works his way into the picture as he moves past Arie Luyendyk and into second place. And Kenny was able to keep on moving as well, the defending IRL champion who won 3 straight races last year. Then on lap 59, he moves past Greg Ray as Breck takes the lead for the first time. And before that lap had been completed, Arie Luyendyk right back into the picture as he moves back into second position, passing Ray. And then some great racing taking place 18, 19 laps ago on lap 82. A great 3-way battle with Luyendyk in his last race ever. Greg Ray, who was clearly the fastest during practice during the month of May, apart from the day of qualifying, and the Swedish-born Kenny Brack, the quiet Swede who drives for the volatile Texan, A.J. Foyt. In fact, A.J. calls Kenny Brack Huggy. Make of that what you want, but Huggy is right there with Luyendyk and Ray. Great 3-way battle under yellow halfway through the Indianapolis 500.
We welcome you back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 83rd running of the 500-mile race, and we are very close to the halfway point. When they come around next time and get the green flag, it'll be lap number 99. Arie Luyendyk in his final 500 is second. Eddie Cheever running 5th. Tony Stewart is 9th. All these drivers doing very good job here in the first half of the race. Team Menard's drivers are 3rd and 13th. And A.J. Foyt's team, the worst is Robbie Buell, and he has come from the back row up to 8th. Down to Jerry Punch.
Lap 95, the very first adjustment of the day for Kenny Brack. They took 1 round of front wing out. The car was a little bit loose, so it's so far so good for A.J., who has 3 cars in the top 10.
quick update on Arie Luyendyk. Again, no changes on the pit stop. They like the balance of the car. It's been perfect all day. As far as Greg Ray is concerned, they also made no changes, but they're surprised the race pace is a little slower. Jan?
Well, for Eddie Cheever, he was not able to see his crew chief, Owen Snyder. So Owen Snyder has put a red piece of tape on his uniform so he can spot him here down on pit road.
Well, Arie Luyendyk got a tremendous jump and went by Kenny Brack and everybody and has gone into the lead again. What a good move on the restart.
Well, Arie really anticipated that start. I'm not sure what Kenny was doing, but Luyendyk did a tremendous job and got a big jump on the boys.
Wow. One car going clear down almost to the grass to get by. That is Scott Goodyear, it would appear.
Yep, that's Scott Goodyear.
Well, Luyendyk just had better timing because you have to stay behind the pace car until it gets into pit lane, and Kenny Brack was afraid of that, and so he kind of held back, but Luyendyk had it timed perfectly, and away he went.
Low, Goodyear's slow. This is inside Goodyear.
Whoa.
Everybody's going by.
Scott Goodyear, the current leader in the Pep Boys Indy Racing League Championship, and the winner at Phoenix recently, is on to the warm-up lane.
Our Goodyear probably is coming at you soon.
Headed that way. Scott Goodyear had just made a great
Oh, what a terrible break for Scott Goodyear, who was running in 5th position. The car is just coasting, and you can see the dismay and the disappointment from the pit crew. He's going to be coasting through the 2nd quarter.
You got Luyendyk followed by Ray.
Well, Luyendyk has the lead because of a great move coming to green. And by the way, now 101 laps have been completed. We are past the halfway point. Let's take a look at it again. Now look at Breck. He's trying to hold back behind the pace car, but Luyendyk had the gun out and ready to go.
Well, that was the whole situation. Actually, the leaders had started to accelerate too soon, and they caught the pace car. Now, the pace car was in the pit, but you still can't pass that pace car.
We have a yellow. Could it be for Scott Goodyear? Did his car get into a position on the racetrack that would require its tow? In any case, yes, I believe that is the case, because he did not make it to a station. This is the 5th yellow of the race. Jerry?
Well, John Barnes, crew chief and co-owner for Scott Goodyear. And John, the car slowed abruptly. What's the problem?
Looks like we lost a connecting rod or something in the motor. It's pretty severe. So one of the things, Speedway Engine's done a great job for us all year long. I can't ask for anything else, just one of them days.
One of those days for Scott Goodyear, Bob.
Well, he blew an engine during the final practice, and now his car is stalled on the warm-up lane near turn number 2. Back with more live coverage here on ABC of the 83rd running of the Indy 500. Arie Luyendyk is your leader. Getting set to go back to green here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and a resumption of the 83rd running of the 500. 104 laps have been completed. The race, of course, is 200 laps, 500 miles. The leader of the race is Arie Luyendyk. Greg Ray second and Kenny Brack third. But look at the guys who have moved up from their starting positions. Robbie McGee started 27th, is up to 5th. Robbie Buell started in the back row, next to last, 32nd, up to 8th. Tony Stewart has come from 24th to 10th. Eichmann's from 29th to 14th, and Boiselle from 33rd to 18th. Down to Gary Gerald.
We've tracked down Steve Knapp, who's been released from the medical center. Tell us what happened.
You know, the Delco Microphonics Pro Long Thermotech team's done a great job for us here. We just missed something at the start of the race. We had a pretty big push. We got that dialed out of it. Last stop, we made some pressure changes, got the car pretty neutral, and we're picking up speed as we burned the fuel off, but it just turned around really fast in turn 1. I didn't even feel it coming. I've gotten loose a few times today, but I caught those, but this one happened really quick, and I thought I had it saved in the short chute there, pointing the right direction, but I flatted all the tires going around. So.
Tell me that race drivers don't have their own favorites. Look at here on Steve Knapp's uniform. That's the autograph of Arie Luyendyk, his final ride at Indy. Now Steve's out of the race. I know who he's pulling for. Thanks, pal.
Thank you.
Another reminder that Saturday, June the 5th, the Belmont Stakes live at 4:30 here on ABC as Charismatic goes for the Triple Crown. at the Belmont. Last Triple Crown winner was affirmed back in 1978. Will Charismatic be able to do it? Join us June the 5th, live at 4:30 here on ABC. Now a half a lap away from going back to green. Luyendyk, Ray, and Breck, your top three, followed by Eddie Cheever.
Well, you speak of Triple Crowns. Luyendyk's going for his Triple Crown right now. It's going to be fun to watch it. The race has been real exciting. We're inside Eddie Cheever's car right now, but the competition has been just outstanding.
So far, so good. The green comes out, and here we go, back to racing.
You can see Cheever moving on the inside, getting good run on Kenny Brack.
Cheever trying to get into third position, and he does so. So put Cheever up to third, and Breck back to fourth spot.
Well, you know, the last restart when Breck was leading the pack, you know, we thought the pace car might have surprised him, but here again he got snookered a little bit on that restart. So hopefully this little Swedish guy is going to be learning some of this for the end of the race.
6 laps past the halfway point. No threat of rain here in Indianapolis right now, but of course an official race is 101 laps. Some other guys we need to talk about running in the top 10 as you see the scoring serial. Tony Stewart there in 10th position. Mark Dismore has unlapped himself under green and is running in 7th position.
Actually, Dismore's been one of the quickest cars on the racetrack, but he's had a lot of traffic to go through trying to get that lap back, but just doing a fantastic job.
And right now he is 6th, and that is Billy Boat, the 5th place driver, just ahead of him. It's been a good race for Mark Dismore, the native of Greenfield, Indiana, which is just east of Indianapolis, who of course has gained his experience mostly from go-karts before moving to higher formulas, and he owns a go-kart company in Greenfield.
Well, you talk about a guy that keeps digging. You know, they struggled early. The car wasn't right at the beginning, but he was able to survive that part, not let his motions get the best of him, and they made the car better, and now he's competitive again.
While Dismore is on a good run, there's the sad story of Scott Goodyear's car being pushed into Gasoline Alley, and it would appear as if his race is over. Dismore once won 8 of 10 Pacific Division Formula Atlantic races. Here in Indianapolis, it's his fourth start here today. Here are the speeds from the last lap, and look how much faster Luyendyk is, almost 3 miles an hour faster than second place Greg Ray.
Well, and a little bit of that is the clean air that you can run in. Everybody behind the leaders got a little more dirty air or turbulence that they got to fight their way through, and it really affects lap time.
There's Robbie McGee, the rookie, who's doing a fantastic job. Jerry Punch, meanwhile, is with Scott Goodyear.
Scotty, we chronicled your close calls before the show today, but today it wasn't going to be close. What put you out?
You know, I'm not sure what exactly went on. I think something with the engine, but you know, we kept making the car better in pit stops and got right up there, and we're just running the top 5, just sort of waiting for the day to go by and making the car better, like I said, each change. And I'm not sure we had enough for Arie because he's run pretty strong, but you got to get right to 190 laps, obviously, because it changes in the last 10 laps here all the time. So guys in the team did a great job, and we're out.
A huge disappointment for Scott Goodyear, who still sits here in his pit.
Watching Jeff Ward, and Ward is having a good race up in 7th position. We again show you the speeds, and again, more than 3 miles an hour faster, Arie Luyendyk, than anybody else.
Well, we talked to Goodyear. He indicated the engine problem. A lot of the teams have been having connecting rod problems. Rods have been breaking, and it's really got some of these engine builders thinking to themselves. Actually, what Greg Ray has done, Butch Meyer, the engine guy there, has actually saved a few sets of rods from last year's motor. And when they recognized that there was a potential rod problem, they're actually using rods from last year's motors in this year's race.
There's Arie Luyendyk, who is the leader of the race by about 2 seconds over Greg Ray. Then comes Eddie Cheever, who is running in 3rd position as he seeks to become the first back-to-back winner since 1970 and 71 with Al Unser.
Well, again, you can't say too much about the research and development and improvements that the Infinity boys have made on that power plant.
On board with Jeff Ward, here's the 7th place runner right now. Up ahead is Mark Dismore in 6th.
You know, you can see the Yahoo on the side of that thing. The driver says that to himself 3 or 4 times during the race when you get things going.
Sometimes. Ward closing in now on Dismore just a little bit through the short chute.
With a former motorcycle racer, you know, he's doubled his tires and he's almost twice as fast.
Eddie Cheever certainly within striking distance of winning this thing again. He is currently about 7 seconds behind in the 3rd position.
You can hear the engine.
He ran the Aurora last year. He switched to the Infinity this year. And of course, that could be good for him. It could be bad. Is he optimistic about his chances for victory if he stays competitive the rest of the way?
I'm supremely confident that if my car engine package stays together in that last run, we're going to be very tough to beat. And that confidence comes, it's not arrogance, it's just and there is probably a tinge of arrogance. I believe that my team is better than everybody else's, but it's just knowing how to run it, what the game plan is.
That's Eddie Cheever, and we saw again some close moments down there in turn number 3 as 3 cars went through the corner very, very closely. There is the 52 car of Wim Eichmans. Eichmans in the warm-up lane appears to be headed for pit road. This is up at the north end of the racetrack. One of the rookies here at Indianapolis in 14th position, and that is Eddie Cheever's teammate, the young Belgian go-kart champion that Eddie secured during the winter months to run here at Indianapolis. Car moving very slowly, but it has made pit lane, and so there will be no caution because of his stalled car. Looks like the crew is in no hurry to get the car back out, so obviously it is a much more serious problem. They're going to take the engine cowling off and take a look, but Wim Eichmans right now, who is doing a good job running in the top 15, is on the pit road. Arie Luyendyk continues to be your leader. We'll be back with more coverage of the Indy 500 after this message and a word from our ABC stations. The Pep Boys Indy Racing League welcomes you back to the 83rd running of the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500. Arie Luyendyk has crashed and is out of the 500. He is okay. He walked out from the car, but here's what happened to the leader of the race.
Well, again, in heavy traffic, Bob. Heavy traffic. And the guy just sort of pinched him off a little bit. Arie really thought the guy probably saw him, but he didn't. That was Tice Carlson. That's Tice Carlson. And again, that's a tough one.
A hard hit for Luyendyk. Here is another replay. He comes up on Carlson. There's no contact between the 2 cars.
Well, I'm not sure. There was a little speed wobble there right before Arie got sideways. We'll have to look at it another angle. The yellow car is Tice Carlson. Again, it's really hard to tell. Luyendyk backs her in hard. The energy management stuff all works.
Definitely. This is in turn number 3.
And again, I'm not sure if Luyendyk thought that Tice knew he was coming and was going to give him room, but there was no room when he finally got there. Tremendous closing speed. Do they touch tires? It's real hard to say.
I don't think so.
It's awful close, but and Arie's looking at him trying to move the wheel. Anytime you put that much steering input, you're in trouble. But he's trying his best to try to catch it, but his day's done.
Well, it's been a great couple of weeks for Arie, but it ends against the wall. Gary?
He appears to be all right. Fred Treadway, the owner of this team. I know you didn't get a chance to see it, but it's got to be such a disappointing way. What's the emotion, Fred?
Oh, it's just the absolute low, I guess. We're excited for Arie. You know, he looked like he had it all together, but Sam Schmidt looked like it had it all together. So I guess this is just the opposite of 97.
Awful tough way to see a great career come to an end.
Yeah, but we're still awful proud. You know, he ran a tough race, and my guess is he was all by himself, so something probably let loose on the car. But I don't know. I didn't see the accident. We're going to go see Arie right now.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
He led 62 laps today here at the Indianapolis 500 in his final appearance at this great speed spectacle. Arie Luyendyk crashing here at about the 117 lap mark. So now pit stops are going to be happening. Here comes Greg Ray, Jerry.
The pits are open, and Greg Ray's biggest concern right now is not the pit stop, but the radio communications.
Eddie Cheever has decided to change a rear wicker on the back of the car, as well as take on 3 tires. They didn't change 4. It was 10.9 seconds. Now let's get back to Jerry.
Routine pit stop for Greg Ray, but once again as Ray leaves near. Oh! And there is contact with Mark Dismore. Wow! Right on pit road. Ray was leaving, Dismore coming in, and now both cars sit nosed in at the far end of the cruise. Now begin to scamper down. What a major, major disappointment for both those drivers who were contenders here today. Oh my!
Dismore had made up a lap under green, was doing a great job in the top 10, and then of course Greg Ray, who has led significantly here today. And with Arie Luyendyk out, you had to give the favorite slot to Greg Ray to win this race. But Dismore and Ray collide on pit road.
Well, again, Dismore was in the fast lane. He was pitted farther north in the pits, and so he had a little bit of a head of steam up. And I don't know if Greg moved over on him, but obviously contact's made.
There's Greg Ray walking disgustedly back to his pit. John Menard gives him a hug.
This is Sharp leaving the pits. You can see he's got a head of steam up already. Here comes Greg Ray. Yeah, you can see Greg. Greg pulled out into the fast lane, and Dismore just had no place to go.
Ironically, he came in and slid in to his teammate Scott Sharp's box, but it was Mark Dismore. Well, the car doesn't appear to be damaged, so perhaps he can get back in contention after all. But not the same can be said for Greg Ray.
Well, again, it shows you the adrenaline and the emotion that's in this race. Greg pulled out of the pits, and he needs to stay on the inside lane. Now watch him when he comes out, and I think you'll see his right front go across the first white line, which is the fast lane in the pits. He's out. You can see him right there. He's across the white line and right into the side of Dismore.
Got a couple of incidents on pit road today. Jerry Punch.
Greg Ray still has the helmet on, and Greg, they pulled the car back by us. What happened?
Jerry, that's a good question. We had a good car. I was trying to do all the right things on the racetrack. I can't tell you. I don't know how that happened. I was told to go. I went, and I just can't even believe it.
How bad is the car hurt? They pushed it by. Let's see, it's minus the front wings. Can you get it back out?
No, it messed up the suspension, and we need points for the championship, but this race is not about points. It's about winning, and I just want to cry.
You can see the moisture in Greg Ray's eyes as he walks away, leaving the helmet on maybe to hide some of the disappointment and some of the emotion.
Well, you work all year for this moment to run in the Indy 500. His thoughts now turn to next year, but for this year, a huge disappointment for Greg Ray. Well, Arie Luyendyk crashed out of the race a few minutes ago, and now another favorite, Greg Ray, has had an incident. This was on pit road. As he came out, Mark Dismore was trying to come in.
You can see Ray just pulls out. He thinks he's clear, but he pulls out into the fast lane. You've got to move your speed up, get the acceleration done before you move into that right-hand lane, and Greg didn't do that. Dismore's out there, had no place to go, and Ray drives into the side of him.
But Mark Dismore has stayed on the lead lap. He did not lose a lap. He did come in a little while ago as we take a look once again at the contact between the two. Now this did damage the suspension on Ray's car, but Dismore apparently is okay. We go down to Jan Beekes.
Bob, we've been talking a lot today about wicker bills, and we've seen a bunch of them changed up and down pit road. Tony Stewart is on his 3rd rear wicker bill. Now, Eddie Cheever just came into the pits. They flipped this up, and this is how you change it. They went to a smaller one, which means it's less downforce, but it runs faster down the straightaway. As a result, they've told him, Eddie, we want you now to use 6th gear because the RPM will be higher, and obviously, with these accidents, they have Eddie exactly where they want him to be. Bob?
He is the leader of the race right now with Kenny Brack second. Jeff Ward third, Billy Boat fourth, and Robbie McGee is in fifth position.
And you heard Jan talk about 6 gear. These guys have got a 6-speed gearbox, and they actually have 3 high gears that are all within about 100 RPM of each other. And so it's very important that they don't get into the rev limiter. If they get in the rev limiter, which limits the RPM in the motors, it's like taking a hammer to the top of the motor. In fact, Ray's guys in a test actually ran on the dyno and simulated running into the rev limiter, and within 100 miles, they knocked the headers right off the motor on the dyno.
Well, later this afternoon here on ABC Sports at 3:30 Eastern, Sports Century presented by General Motors looks at sports dynasties, highlights and special interviews of the greatest sports dynasties of the century, including the New York Yankees, winners of 24 World Championships, and the Boston Celtics, who won 9 championships in 10 years. Hosted by Dick Schaap at 3:30 Eastern this afternoon here on ABC Sports. Should be going back to green soon here at Indianapolis. An event-filled race, at least in the last 40 laps or so, with Luyendyk crashing out, Ray eliminated in a pit road incident, and now we turn our attention toward Cheever, Breck, Ward, Bowden, McGee, all in the top 5.
Well, and a lot of the trouble's been in the pits, Bob, and what happens is you got that intense concentration on the racetrack. You get in the pits, and sometimes you let your guard down a little bit. You try to take a little break, but at this place, there's just no time to take a break.
Robbie Buell is now in 6th position. He started in the middle of the last row. One of those who has made a tremendous charge to the front. Robbie McGee, who is positioned ahead of him in 5th. Also another one of those who has picked up many positions since the drop of the green flag. On board with Tony Stewart, who is in 7th spot as the pace car begins to pick up the pace and move through corner number 4, coming onto the pit road once again as the restart is about to happen. And the green flag waves. Cheever and Breck first and second. Breck gets a much better jump, and Kenny Brack goes to the front. And look at Ward.
What a move by Kenny Brack. We talked about how he'd been taken advantage of in the last couple restarts, but this guy's a quick study because he figured out what he needed to do and got the job done.
Looks to be a lot of debris on the racetrack, a lot of wrappers that have come off from the grandstands, but Kenny Brack has taken himself back into the lead of this race for A.J. Foyt. There is Cheever, and that is Robbie Gordon, who is also right there. And Gordon has been running up with the leaders most of the race. He did get a lap down earlier. He's back in 9th spot, so he's still trying to make up a lap.
Well, and he's close to making up that lap. Robbie is real close to getting that job done. They keep adjusting on the car, and the car is as fast as the leaders right now.
There is AJ as he hopes to pull out a victory here this afternoon. Has 3 cars in the race.
And look at the debris on the racetrack. I mean, there's some hot dogs consumed during the day here out there.
Cheever continues to run in 2nd spot. Jeff Ward is 3rd. The procession down the backstretch on lap 127. Certainly our stories have changed since the beginning of the race. In fact, just in the last few minutes, Luyendyk's final 500 is over. He crashed. Eddie Cheever currently running 2nd. He was leading a few moments ago. Tony Stewart is 7th. He's still very much a contender. Ray had a crash on pit road. Robbie Gordon is a lap down in 9th. And A.J. Foyt's boys, hey, they're having a great race. 1st, 5th, and 8th. Sponsored by Compact.
They've got that Compact. I think that's the only computer that can survive Foyt's antics in the pits.
They did have a fuel mileage problem last year, which AJ took his frustrations out on the computer. But right now, Kenny Brack is showing the way. Last lap at over 212.5 miles an hour, and the 2nd fastest last lap was the 3rd place car of Jeff Ward at 212.2. 2nd place car of Eddie Cheever only a 210 lap.
Again, the balance is just so critical on these. If you get the balance off just a little bit, it means a couple miles an hour on the racetrack.
the defending Pep Boys Indy Racing League champion.
One car, and here's inside Kenny Brack. This is the short chute. Entering turn 2. He's down below the white line, all the way out to the wall and down the back straightaway. You can see him turn his head just an ounce to look in the mirrors. You look at Cheever, it looked like he was trying to grab another gear right there. Again, that might be one of the top 3 gears that they can choose from.
There's third place, Jeff Ward. Staying right on that line as he moves through turn 3.
Well, again, he's got traffic ahead. He's got to anticipate what these guys are doing. He doesn't want to run up too tight on them too early in that corner because he can't get a run off the corner that way.
Started 14th, came up to 7th, back to 12th, and now up to 3rd. And Jeff Ward is one of the most consistent race drivers that has competed here in Indianapolis in the last few years. Let's go to Gary Gerald, who's with Arie Luyendyk.
Just coming out of the medical center, I don't know how to put in words what you must be feeling, so you tell us.
Really, I feel stupid right now. I should have known better than race the traffic that hard. The yellow car was on the right-hand side of the track. I thought.
Was that Tice Carlson?
I believe it was, and I didn't know if Scott Goodyear went back out again. But I went underneath Tice, and I thought he would give me room, but he came back down on me, and obviously I had to actually slam on the brakes to not hit him as he came down. And when I touched the brakes, it upset the car and made me spin out. But I've been here so long, I should know better. And my car was so good. My car was just unbelievable today. I could drive anywhere, and I was having so much fun. It was the most fun Indy 500 I've ever had.
Have you ever experienced this kind of emotion from having so much fun in your 15 years here to this kind of disappointment?
No, I have to think back to when Emerson Fittipaldi was leading, you know, clearly on 94, and then he lost it towards the end of the race, and I know what he feels now.
The conditions of the racetrack itself, Ari, they hadn't made a change on your car. Is that correct? It looked like you had a perfect setup.
Well, I made one wing change, and the car after that was just even better. And on my own, I was running at 218, and I was still holding back because I was hitting the rev limiter in 6th gear. I basically ran out of gear. The team never expected me to go this fast, I guess, in these conditions, but the car was just phenomenal. So my hat's off to Tim Wardrop and my team, Fred Treadway. Everybody has just done an unbelievable job, and you know, I just, this is too bad. I can't believe it.
Any second thoughts about retirement?
I don't think so, but I'd like to thank the fans again. I was standing there in turn 3, and everybody was just going crazy over there cheering me on, and it felt good at the moment, but of course right now I don't feel too good. But it's going to be a long summer thinking about how it could have been.
Thanks, Ari.
All right, thank you.
And thanks for all the great memories.
Arie Luyendyk first came to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for rookie orientation back in 1985, in April of that year. His career at Indy has apparently ended with a crash. We'll be back with more from the Indianapolis 500 in a moment. Kenny Brack is the leader. Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where Tony Stewart relinquishes the 9th position to make a pit stop. Now, he is off sequence. He pitted after most everybody else, coming in to get a fresh set of tires, car full of fuel.
They really missed on the setup on the last adjustment.
11.9 second pit stop for Tony Stewart.
They had an understeer. They had the
hanging out. I went when the jack went down.
You hear him talking. Curry says there's one of the wicker bills is hanging out, so they didn't quite get the job done before Tony left the pits.
Wow. Well, here is 4th place Billy Bode, about 9 seconds behind his teammate, the leader of the race, Kenny Brack. Ward has taken 2nd spot from Eddie Cheever, and the rookie Robbie McGee continues to have a great race in 5th position. There is McGee, young man from the St. Louis, Missouri area.
See the wheel shaking, so he's got his hands full a little bit. This kid's doing a tremendous job. Kid actually started racing with his mother, not his father, his mother. And they went to the same driving school together and used to race against each other.
And she continues to be his biggest fan, believe me. And he has become the first 500 starter from the metropolitan St. Louis area since Bob Winty in '64. Is that Cheever? It is.
Cheever.
All of the favorites here are falling out of the race. Another one drops by the wayside. Eddie Cheever, who was running second until just a few laps ago, he had dropped back to third. And now he climbs out of the car and it's all over. Now this is the area of the racetrack that they were told to go to if they could, because as you can see, the officials there dragged the car off the track and there is no caution.
Well, and obviously it's terminal in Eddie's mind, because he would want to get to the pits if he thought there was anything he could do about that situation. So it looks like the Infinity might have some bad breath.
And Robbie Gordon is back on the lead lap. He had gotten off the lead lap a long time ago, but finally now is back on, and he is in 7th position. So we'll keep an eye on him. He's been running with the leaders for almost all the race. Let's go to Jan Beekes. What happened to Eddie Cheever?
Well, Tom, you were right. It was the Infinity power plant that let go for Eddie Cheever. They had the speed they wanted, but today they did not have the reliability.
So we have lost just in the last few laps Arie Luyendyk, Greg Ray, and now Eddie Cheever. That means that Billy Boat moves up to 3rd spot. It's Breck leading, Jeff Ward running 2nd. A.J. Foyt's driver, Billy Boat, is 3rd, and then McGee. Foyt hoping to pull off a victory here. All 3 drivers running very well in this race. They are 1st, 3rd, and 5th for Supertex, the 4-time winner here at Indianapolis. 141 laps out of 200 completed. Kenny Brack is the leader of the Indianapolis 500 with 146 laps completed, but only by about 1.1 seconds over Jeff Ward. Billy Boat is running in 3rd position, and 4th is the man with whom we ride right now, young Robbie McGee, who is in the 4th position, and knowing that his crew chief, Steve Freed from Mentor, Ohio, has been critically injured here in a pit incident. That came early in the race. He is reported to be in critical but stable condition at Methodist Hospital. Robbie has been told this on the radio, so perhaps, Tom, now he is driving for Steve and hoping to pull out this tremendous race that he has had so far.
Well, if not the emotions of being in your first 500 isn't enough, now he's got that part to deal with, but the kid's doing a tremendous job.
Breck going around some of the slower traffic down the straightaway here in Indianapolis, completing one more lap. Now let's update the stories for you that we talked about originally. Arie Luyendyk is out as a result of a crash. Eddie Cheever has dropped out of competition. Tony Stewart has lost 3 laps as a result of a couple of pit stops, not doing well at all. He's back in 13th. Greg Ray is out. Robbie Gordon has made up his lap. He's currently 7th. And look at the Foyt team. 1st, 3rd, and 5th. AJ having a great day here at Indianapolis. Now the information that we gave you regarding Steve Freed, Robbie McGee's crew chief, has come from Methodist Hospital, and as soon as we get any update from Methodist, we will pass it along to you. The latest report, again, critical but stable condition. Jan Beekes, what adjustments have they made in his crew?
Well, what they have done, Bob, is they have taken Troy Stevens and put him on the right front. That was the tire that Steve Freed was changing, and then they shifted all their crew members around. They don't have an official crew chief, so to speak, but they are doing a masterful job so far here on pit road.
And a caution is going to come out. That's Roberto Guerrero.
The other Infinity, another Infinity now.
That's going to bring out the caution that would appear, although he has made it to the warm-up lane. Go to Gary Gerald.
And just as you're concerned about that, Robbie Buell makes a scheduled pit stop. We expect that Jeff Ward will be in the next 3 or 4 laps, depending on whether or not they have to go yellow down off the track. Buell explodes away. It was right around 15 seconds flat.
Still no caution. The green remains out here at Indianapolis as Guerrero was able to get his disabled car down to the warm-up lane.
Well, that's a break for Breck, obviously. That could have spoiled his day.
Now Breck working through some slower traffic. We're on board with Jeff Ward, who isn't that far behind Kenny. He's the 2nd car ahead. Oh, looks like Ward had the idea of going to the outside through the corner, and Breck is going to be pitting. Kenny Brack comes off of corner number 4 and heads toward the pits as Jeff Ward now takes over the lead of the Indy 500. Here is Breck keeping the car below 80 miles an hour. That's the speed limit. Down to Jerry Punch.
Here we go, Kenny.
Kenny Brack at 80 miles an hour. They reminded him of the pit speed, very deliberately coming in. They had made an adjustment back to the front wing, taking it back to where it was a moment ago in the previous pit stop. No wing adjustment here. Right front, right rear tire, left side tire zones. Getting it completely full of fuel. 13 seconds he's away.
Watch your speed, watch your speed. It's automatic on it.
Robbie McGee has just got his pit stop, 16.6 seconds, no changes on the car.
We have yet to see Jeff Ward, however, make his pit stop here with a little less than 50 laps to go. He stays out there, and Jeff Ward has become our 6th different leader. We've had 14 lead changes. Mark Dismore has completed his stop. He was in the top 5 when he came in. Once you reach this point on the racetrack, you can, of course, begin to accelerate, but you cannot re-enter the racetrack until you come out of turn number 2.
You heard on the radio the crew encouraging him to get up to speed as quick as he could because the track is green.
Jeff Ward now relinquishes the lead and comes in for his stop. Coming slowly down pit road, the crew awaiting him. He's pitted just past the control tower here in Indianapolis. He reaches the pit box, and the crew goes to work on Jeff Ward.
You heard them talk about the air boxes, the radiators. They want to make sure there's no debris inside the air boxes or the entrance to the radiators.
Okay, go, go, go.
Ward driving the Pagan Racing Team car here this weekend. And here comes Kenny Brack down the straightaway as he now will pick up the lead once again as a result of the pit stops here. So Breck back in the lead at the Indianapolis 500 with 153 laps completed. We'll return after these messages. ABC Sports presenting live coverage of the 83rd running of the Indianapolis 500. We're running 158th lap now with Kenny Brack in the lead, Jeff Ward less than a second behind. Billy Boat is 3rd, so Foyt's drivers are 1st and 3rd, and the 3rd member of Boat's AJ Foyt's team is in 6th position.
Well, we just heard AJ on the radio to Kenny and telling him to pick it up a little bit because Ward's coming. Now, this is not what a driver wants to hear. You're so close to the edge, the ragged edge on each corner, and you get somebody asking you to pick it up just a little bit more. That's a tough one to hear.
We have had several crashes, no injuries on the racetrack, but we did have an injury in the pit area. An update from Jan Beekes.
Well, Bob, I have some great news for you. And Linda Conti of the Energizer crew just told the whole crew to a resounding cheer that Steve Freed is okay. He's awake and he is alert. And she gave everyone on the crew a thumbs up, and then she gave the crowd the thumbs up. And behind us here, they all went crazy. There's been a huge mood swing here for Robbie McGee. Now they know their crew chief is going to be. He is awake and he's alert. Now they want to get Robbie up to the front of this race.
Steve was hit on pit road in an early incident, and he has been taken to Methodist Hospital, but that's the good update from Jan Beekes. 1st and 2nd, Kenny Brack and Jeff Ward separated by only about 2 seconds. There's Ward. Jeff's wife is so excited that she can't even watch these final few laps. Her husband is close to leading the race and, of course, close to a possible victory. And, of course, the other guy who has a profound interest in what's going on here is AJ Foyt. And again, his drivers are doing just magnificently here this afternoon. 1st, 3rd, and 6th. Breck is 1st, Boat 3rd, and Robbie Buell has come from the back row to run in 6th position.
I doubt if we'll see Foyt's head underneath the scoring stand unless he's tearing something up or punching somebody.
has led 3 laps of this race, but currently runs in second position.
One of the stories here, Bob, that we've got to watch, we haven't seen him in the last few laps, that Robby Gordon is actually the fastest car on the racetrack right at this moment.
Well, we documented the fact that he did indeed make up his lap, and he is currently shown in the 7th position, about 16 seconds behind the leader. Jeff Ward here in Indianapolis in 1997. He was the Rookie of the Year, finishing 3rd. He finished 13th last year. The caution is out. We understand that the number 30 car, driven by Jimmy Kite, has stopped on the racetrack. It's our 7th caution of the day here in the 83rd running of the Indianapolis 500.
This is Al Michaels back in Indianapolis, still under yellow. The leader is Kenny Brack with 38 laps to go in the Indianapolis 500. It is always a war of attrition at Indianapolis, and it began on lap 63. Sam Schmidt was very much in contention when he lost control, spun to the outside, hit the outside wall, and his day was done. Hands tell the story here. One picture is worth 1,000 words. The hands of Scott Goodyear telling you his day was done on lap 102. And then there was Arie Luyendyk on lap 118 with the lead. Arie Luyendyk tried to pinch inside Tice Carlson, tried to get inside of him and couldn't. His day and career over. Greg Ray on lap 120. It was Greg Ray coming out of the pits. Greg Ray swinging to the outside. The collision with Mark Dismore, and there went that leader. And then Eddie Cheever will not be the 1999 champion. He will not be able to defend his crown because his engine gave out a few laps ago. As we go back to Bob Jenkins and Tom Sneva.
Just about ready to go back to racing here at Indianapolis. The field at the end of the backstretch heading through the north end of the racetrack. They will come down, complete lap number 164, and get the green flag. With Kenny Brack in the lead, Jeff Ward second, followed by Billy Boat, Mark Dismore, Robbie McGee, Robbie Buell, and Robby Gordon. They will go one more lap before getting the green flag.
Well, Bob, the key here is 37 to go. Can some of these cars make it to the end without having to fuel again? I'm not sure.
It would be almost impossible unless we had an extended caution. We'll see what happens, though. Well, coming up next, after our presentation of live coverage of the Indy 500 Sports Century presented by General Motors Sports Dynasties, as we look at the highlights and special interviews involving the greatest sports dynasties of the past century, including the Yankees, winners of 24 World Championships, and the Boston Celtics, who won 9 championships in 10 years. That's at 3:30 Eastern here on ABC. Robby Gordon has come in for the stop. He was in 6th position, but of course he's not going to lose very much because there are only 7 cars on the lead lap.
Well, again, the key is this is real late in the yellow, so could they be trying to stretch it to the end of the race with that stop?
Jerry Punch, what's Kenny Brack's situation?
Well, he could actually go probably to lap 179 or 180, but remember a year ago, Kenny Brack was leading coming off turn 2, and the computer told AJ they could make it 3 more laps, and the engine coughed and sputtered and quit. AJ's not taking any chances. Look for Brack, maybe 176 or 177, at least a couple laps early, which should be his final stop.
Breck getting set for the restart. The pace car pulls ahead, begins to accelerate. He must not pass the pace car until the pace car gets into pit lane, and so it's often a matter of timing. We understand that Eddie Cheever, who is, of course, was the defending champion of this race, he is out of the race and he has left the gasoline alley area, and we are unable to talk with him.
So does that mean both him and Elvis have left the building?
Left the building. So, all right, here we go. Look at Jeff Ward. He tries to pull off a move and time it just right. The green is out. Pit lane becomes occupied by the pace car, and here we go.
Look at Buddy Lazier trying to get a lap back. Buddy has made adjustments to that car, has gotten by Breck on the restart.
And Boat and Dismore are running close together. All 4 of the top 4 cars right together on the racetrack. Off of corner number 2, they come down the backstretch. It's Breck followed by Ward. Billy Boat, the red car, is 3rd, and then Mark Dismore is right there in 4th spot.
Again, we're having a lot of fun watching these restarts, but that time the leaders were closer to the front of the pack. We've had a lot of restarts where the leaders have actually been back in the pack, and it causes some great anxiety among these drivers.
Buddy Lazier has gotten 1 lap back. We believe, however, he still remains 1 lap down. Breck beginning to separate himself from Jeff Ward just a little bit, building the interval up to 1.2 seconds. There is Breck. Lazier is the car right ahead of Breck, but again, he has gotten 1 lap back and needs another one.
Well, the question is, Buddy got him on the restart, but once they get into clean air, is Kenny a little bit faster? And will Lazier hold him up a little bit to give Ward a chance to get the distance closed out?
Breck continues to add up the total of laps led here this afternoon. Arie Luyendyk still remains the driver who has led the most laps in this year's Indianapolis 500. He led 63 before he crashed, putting himself out of the race. Now Breck has led 61 and is still up front. There you go, with Cheever leading 4, Greg Ray 31. Jeff Ward has led only 3. But he doesn't care about leading until the checkered flag drops.
The other side of this is Lazier might actually be helping Breck at this time. 2 cars can run faster together, and I'm not sure if Jeff's got that draft or not in the 3rd spot.
32 laps to go in the 500 for 1999. Let's take a look at the speeds. Well, Buddy Lazier just a little bit faster than the leader of the race, Kenny Brack, and Jeff Ward. Oh,
we got trouble. Look at the wheel coming across the racetrack.
And there is the car from which, and it's marked as...
Well, that's the right front. Remember, Dismore was involved in a crash in the pits, Bob, and that could have done some damage to the right front suspension when in the pits. That resulted in the tire leaving the race car a little bit later.
Very good point. Caution is out once again here at Indianapolis. This is the 8th time. All of the incidents we have seen so far, the tires and wheels have stayed on the car at impact, but this one has come off the right front. So Mark Dismore had a good run going, was in the top 10, has had a rough afternoon. He got down a lap early in the race, got it back, then had an incident on pit road, was still looking good, and now here on the 169th lap, his race is over. The pace car has picked up the field now. Dismore has gotten out of the car, so he is okay. He did scatter some debris out of turn number 2. And we'll take a look at the incident once again.
Well, this is the in-car camera. This is Dismore's car. He's going through turn 2. He gets out of the groove a little bit. Oh, yeah, the car just pushes up, and he smacks the wall with the right front. Definitely broke off. I mean, there was no damage until he hit the wall, and then we had tremendous damage. And again, that's just an understeer situation. He was trying a little bit too hard, and again, they're so close to the edge. Small mistakes are magnified at 200 miles an hour.
Now with 30 laps to go, pit stops again being made. Those on the lead lap able to come in. There are 6 of them. Kenny Brack leads them down. Then Jeff Ward, then Boat. Jan Beekes is with Robbie McGee.
And of course, there's going to be no tires. I think a lot of people will try this strategy.
No changes for Jeff Ward, Jan. They clean the radiators, complete the fueling, waiting, rolling, 11.5 seconds. Jerry?
Both Billy Boat and Kenny Brack were in a half a turn up on the wing on Breck. But a great pit stop for the Breck crew once again for A.J. Foyt's team.
Well, how about Billy Boat? He got out in front of Jeff Ward, so Boat had a tremendous pit stop.
We'll be back with more of our live coverage in just a moment of the Indianapolis 500 after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. The Pep Boys Indy Racing League welcomes you back to the 83rd running of the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500. And we're under caution here, 172 laps about to be completed. Right now, Robbie Gordon is shown as the leader. Let's get a report from the pit area, first by going to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Guys, Kenny Brack came in and they made an adjustment on the front ring to try to loosen the car up. Kenny said, if you free it up, I can hang on. I know it'll be a handful, but I can hang on. Now, as far as fuel mileage are concerned, behind me, Tommy LeMance and the crew are recalculating it. They've got to run 30 laps. Their calculations say they can run comfortably 29 and a half. So it's hold your breath time for the checkered flag. Let's check in with Jan.
Well, for Robbie McGee, they say that yes, they can make it to the end, and they're excited about the fact that they have to save a little fuel. The reason is that they felt early in the race they could go farther on their fuel than anybody else out there on the racetrack. So they're hoping everyone else will turn the fuel down and slow down, and Robbie McGee will go towards the front. Gary?
Jeff Ward running that steady pace. Mitch Davis says the car has been superb. There were no changes. Air pressure, wing on the last stop. They're saving fifth gear. When they run in fifth gear, the oil temperature goes up a little bit. They're waiting for the final 15 laps, and then it's going to be turn it loose time in fifth gear for Jeff Ward. We got a shootout on our hands, guys. They can all go the distance.
Last driver to win the Indianapolis 500 from the 4th starting position, where Robbie Gordon started today, Bobby Rahal, back in 1986. Looks like we're going to go at least one more lap before we go green. We're under caution because of Mark Dismore's crash coming out of turn number 2, hit the wall, and he is okay, but another car has been eliminated. Kenny Brack has now led the most laps here at Indy in the 1999 edition.
Well, how about the story with Robbie Gordon, though? He comes here with a different car. He can't get it up to speed, so he has the luxury of getting into Greg Ray's backup car. Greg did most of the work with this car to get it set up. Now, this doesn't usually happen to drivers, but Robbie's got to be smiling to himself right now.
ABC Sports, of course, is interested in bringing you the finest coverage that we can possibly provide, and you will see the rest of the race without commercial interruption.
How about the debris on the nose of that race car, Bob? It shouldn't be a problem, but if it gets loose and gets into the radiator entrance, then it could become a factor.
This car that Robbie Gordon is driving is a 1998 chassis and was one that Robbie Buell had at his disposal last year, but did not race. Certainly he has a good race car here today, Gary.
Every one of these extra laps of yellow is huge for Robbie Gordon. 27 laps to go. They say if we go green the rest of the way, it's going to be very nervous. They'll be very close. With a lap of yellow or so, they think they are good. So they're hanging out with big smiles and a lot of anticipation down here. Remember, he pitted just ahead of the yellow, the opportunity for Breck, Boat, and Ward to get in along with McGee.
And Gary, one of the reasons why they do that is for every lap under yellow, you get 3 under green.
Robbie Gordon finished last in the race yesterday near St. Louis. He crashed, as a matter of fact, and bruised his right calf. And there was some concern about whether or not he would be 100% physically to compete in this race. He's answered that question. He could go from last yesterday to first today.
Champ to chump, we've seen it before. But fuel mileage is the key. These things get about 2 miles to the gallon. If you're good, you're getting 2.1. If you're bad, you're getting 1.9. Now that doesn't sound a lot to the guys at home because these things make power, and power takes fuel.
26 laps to go in the Indianapolis 500. Pace car is off the racetrack. The green flies, and we are back to competition.
Boy, somebody got a real slow start and caused them to really scramble coming off of turn 4, back in the pack.
That was Billy Boat going to the extreme inside. Meanwhile, Jeff Ward, they're in second position, but he's got a long way to go to catch up to Robbie Gordon. There's Breck, there's Boat, and there is McGee. Those are your top 5. Robbie Buell, the other car on the lead lap, in 6th position.
Well, he doesn't have far to go. At 200 miles an hour, it might look like a little bit of distance, but it doesn't take long to get there.
A.J. Foyt having a great day as a car owner. He, of course, owned his car when he himself won, but he has never been an actual car owner and experienced a victory here at Indianapolis, and he could do it today because his drivers are 3rd, 4th, and 6th.
Here he comes, Jeff Ward. Blasting by.
It's Tice Carlson that he went around. Tice is shown in 16th position. Now he sets his sights on the leader of the race, Robby Gordon. Jeff Ward does. There's Ward down the back stretch. Then back to the 3rd place, Kenny Brack, and he is hotly pursued by his teammate, Billy Boat. Both of them are caught up behind Tice Carlson. Now they'll make the move off the corner, we would assume.
Well, Kenny's got a little run on Tice, but Tice has obviously made that car better because he's running a little bit quicker, but whoa, underneath. That time Tice saw him, but look at the run Billy got in.
Well, I would assume that Kenny tried to time it so that he could make the pass as late as possible and put that car between himself and Boat to kind of break his momentum.
Well, I don't know if you want to wait that late into the corner because, again, like what happened with Luyendyk, you're not sure the guy knows you're coming. I don't know if you heard in the background, but you can hear that stutter step out of some of the motors. That's guys running into that rev limiter, and that's not good for the motors.
Billy Boat, a veteran of the short track open wheel series around the country.
Well, Billy's in the red car. We got a smoker coming into the pits.
Smoker coming down to the pits, and again, this is good news in that he has made it to pit road. That's Jarrett Schrader, another rookie here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Well, and been doing a great job. Also in the top 10, 2 rookies up there, and Jarrett's been doing an awesome job also, but it looks like his day's done.
Driving for Price Cobb Racing. Jarrett Schrader from Queens, New York, now living in Vineland, New Jersey. Meanwhile, back on the racetrack, it is Jeff Ward pursuing Robby Gordon, and the interval is just a little more than 3 seconds between 1st and 2nd. Here are the speeds from the last lap. Buddy Lazier, who has unlapped himself, is the quickest. Robby Gordon is about a mile an hour, not quite a mile an hour faster than Ward, and a couple of miles an hour faster than Breck.
Again, some of that can be traffic. So.
Distance between 2nd and 3rd closes in as Breck gets a good run down the straightaway. On board with Kenny.
What happens oftentimes, your car might have one condition when it's full of fuel. You might not be as quick as some of the competitors on full tanks, but as the fuel runs out of these cars, some cars will slow up a little bit, and actually some will get faster.
Coming up to lap 180. 20 laps from the end of the 83rd running of the Indy 500. Gordon completes lap 180, 20 to go. And 23 times the leader at lap 180 has failed to win the Indy 500, and it's happened 6 times in the last 7 years. The question right now is, does Robby Gordon have the fuel to go the distance, Gary?
This is interesting down here, Bob, is the suspension build, the suspense build. Ken Anderson is on the scoring stand. He turns back to the computer guys. He says, give me a thumb up or a thumbs down. The computer guys gave him a thumb just like that. It's too close to call.
Wow. Well, we'll see what happens in the next 20 laps. Can Gordon stay in front? Does he have enough fuel to finish the race? Or will it be Kenny Brack or Jeff Ward or Billy Boat? Jan Vikas, what's the update on Jeff Ward?
Well, he is in the same situation as some of the other leaders. He will not have to come on pit road. They're confident they have enough fuel.
Robbie Gordon last pitted on lap 164, but remember, a lot of the laps were run under caution. What do you think, Tom Sneva?
I don't know. Gary showed us the thumb. I hope it's not another finger that Gordon gives somebody towards the end of this race. Let's hope that he's got the fuel to go.
18 laps to go in the 83rd running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Many of the major contenders have been taken out. Arie Luyendyk in his final run has crashed out. Eddie Cheever is out with engine problems. Greg Ray was out in a pit crash. The situation now is Robby Gordon has the lead, but he may be critically close to running out of fuel before the race is over. Right behind him, Jeff Ward about 4 seconds behind. Kenny Brack is third. Billy Boat fourth. Robbie Buell fifth. A.J. Foyt's drivers are running third, fourth, and fifth at the moment.
Again, we're looking at Robbie's car, trying to take advantage of the draft, trying to get a little bit of a tow. Now, these drivers actually have the ability to control the fuel consumption somewhat from the cockpit of the car. There's actually 7 different settings that the driver can move between, both affecting the amount of fuel and the amount of timing or spark advance they have in these cars.
And Tom, they have just told Jeff Ward that he can use as much of that fuel as he wants. He said, run as hard as you want. It's not a problem. Use any one of those positions that goes the fastest.
Well, as you know, Jan, as they tone down the fuel, the speed comes down. You don't make power when you lean it out to try to get mileage, so Ward's good to go. Let's see about Robbie.
Gordon ran 32 laps earlier in the race under green. He has to run 36 now to carry him to the checkered flag at Indianapolis. This is Robbie's 5th start in the Indianapolis 500. His first run here was in 1993. He finished 27th. Jerry Punch has information on pit road. Jerry?
Regarding Kenny Brack's situation, Tom Sneva hit the nail on the head a moment ago. They have told Kenny Brack to move the mixture button to position number 5, trying to lean that engine out. That's why he probably is not getting the horsepower right now he would like to get. They are still concerned it may be within a half a lap on their fuel calculation. Now, with 5 to 7 laps to go, he'll pull it back to a richer mixture. The horsepower will come, and he'll make a run.
Watching Buddy Lazier, who is not on the lead lap. And here is the last lap since pit stop, and you can see there that Robbie Gordon has run a lot more laps than Ward and Breck, and he is getting dangerously close to when he needs to come in for fuel.
Well, we were sort of hoping sailboat fuel wouldn't be a factor in this race, Bob, but it's coming down here.
Guys, we just get word on Robbie Gordon. They told us a few minutes ago that he was free to use 5th gear. He's back to 6th. That means, to me, he's trying to save a few RPMs. You save RPMs, you save fuel.
We're actually hearing on the radio, Bob, that the crew is telling him you got plenty of fuel. No problem. But a lot of times late in the race, the crew will not tell you the complete truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Exactly. Watching Robbie McGee there to the left of your screen, on board with Lazier looking ahead to Robbie McGee. Such an outstanding performance by this 25-year-old driver who is currently in 6th position. The Energizer Bunny has carried him well in the Indy 500, and now a battle for 2nd. Kenny Brack takes 2nd from Jeff Ward.
A pretty good pass. Kenny's got it going. Oh, he got trapped in traffic a little bit there. Davey Hamilton right in front of him. Kenny had a good run going. He had to roll out a little bit. That hurt him a little bit. You can see Lazier's got a run back on him on the back straightaway.
Jeff Ward also being able to get around Davey Hamilton, but now Ward finds himself in 3rd spot as Kenny Brack has assumed the 2nd position.
That was Foyt you were listening to, talking to Breck. Fuel position 7, so they're all hunting for the magic tuning point.
And Tom, in case you're wondering what number and what letter means what, determine that just before the race. So a number 7 for one team is completely different than another. The reason they do that is if someone listens to their radio, they do not know what fuel setting they're actually running.
And what AJ is telling Kenny Brack is just before that pass, we will go 1 notch richer to get a little more horsepower. And as soon as he made that click, that's when Breck made the pass for second position. Bob?
Robbie Gordon is certainly not turning down the speed, and he is up to 211 miles an hour and considerably faster than everybody else on the racetrack. Robbie Gordon is going for it.
Well, all these other guys are pushing it right to the limit also, Bob, but Robbie's done a tremendous job. Lap down early, fought, grinded, got it back.
Now Kenny Brack has turned up the wick a bit, and he becomes the fastest that last lap. Robbie Gordon is at the north end of the racetrack now into turn number 4, and when he comes down, he will complete lap number 190, and there will be 10 laps to go in the Indianapolis 500. And the leader at lap 190 has failed to win the Indy 500 in 3 of the last 4 years.
Again, we talked about the fuel load. These cars handle different as the load of fuel goes down. Kenny Brack obviously is happy with his car at this point.
Jeff Ward, who is currently running in third, you heard the radio transmission. Robbie is being told that they are okay on fuel. The pursuer, Kenny Brack, from Carlstead, Sweden, the defending Pep Boys Indy Racing League champion. He's reduced the interval from 5 seconds down to 3.8. Last lap was 3.7 seconds behind Gordon.
If we get to listen to that in-car camera again, we can hear how much he's having to roll out of the throttle in the corners. It'll give us an indication of how well he likes the chassis balance of this car.
Robbie Gordon, a former winner of the 24 Hours of Daytona in '90. He won the 12 Hours of Sebring in '90 with Lynn St. James and Calvin Fish, and won the 24 Hours of Daytona again in 1991.
Gordon lap 193, 7 to go. 3.9. 3.9.
You heard the 3.9. The last lap it was 3.8.
Interval between first and second. Best finish here was third.
Again, you see Robbie just tucked right in behind Lazier and stayed there as long as he could. He didn't pull out of the draft until the very last second to try to get as much tow as he could.
Breck's best finish here at Indianapolis was 6th.
Your fuel is okay. We're okay. Don't worry about it. Drive, drive.
Wouldn't they just be telling him that, though, to get the worry off his mind?
Well, Robbie's asking about it, so obviously he doesn't believe what they're telling him.
6 laps to go.
5 to go. You're doing just great. Keep it up.
This is Robbie's. He's just about ready to catch a bunch of traffic, so...
That could always play a factor.
Well, we know it does.
5 to go, this time by.
Again, a lot of it's the key is when you catch the traffic, where you run up to it on the racetrack. Now, this is good. He should be able to get this car down the straightaway.
That's Robbie Unser.
He's got a little gap. That'll get him through turns 1. Oh, but we got slower traffic right in front.
Big traffic ahead.
This is going to hold him up, Bob. This is really taking some momentum out of him.
Able to move through it successfully so far. But it has allowed Kenny Brack to close in just a little.
This could get interesting. Right in front of Robbie is McGee, Bob. And McGee has been fast all day, but it's a rookie.
Still going to pull a great finish off here, though. He's in 6th position now. Gordon to the inside of him.
Wow. Now that was brave on Robbie's part. Robbie, you have that middle book in drivers, but with rookies, you're missing some chapters in that book.
3 laps to go.
1 point, car 55, EJ is behind.
Breck is closing in. The interval is down to less than 1.5 seconds.
I think some of that has been the trouble that Robbie's experienced in traffic.
Here's the interval between the two. Breck clearing the slower car there.
Going in again, baby.
Kenny Brack's closing the gap, Bob. I'm not sure if they might be running low on fuel.
5 miles to go, 2 laps.
He might have lost the pickup in the last corner. I think Robbie is real nervous right now.
We heard him say, I think we're going to run out of fuel. The white flag is about to come out at Indianapolis. He's out of fuel. He's out of fuel.
Wow.
Robbie Gordon is out of fuel as Kenny Brack comes down to take the white flag. 1 more lap to go in the Indy 500. Incredible heartbreak for Robbie Gordon, out of fuel. And now A.J. Foyt's pit.
Bob, it's the biggest race in the world. You've got to go. You got to gamble. They did, and they lost.
To go for Breck.
Keep coming, Kenny, keep coming. You only got the white checker this time. Come on, come on.
Here he is. Kenny Brack wins the 1999 83rd running of the Indianapolis 500.
Good job, Kenny, baby. Good job.
Down to Cherry Punch.
A.J. Foyt climbing over the wall and talking to some of these people here on pit road. And A.J.
through. Kenny deserves it. We start off bad. It's wonderful.
We'll talk to him when we come back. A.J. Foyt and his driver Kenny Brack have won the Indianapolis 500. This isn't sponsored like our Winston Cup is it, Bob?
Bobby, should I stay with A.J.? I was standing with him when he stepped over the wall away from us.
Who got in there and...
It was the PA guy. Grabbed him, pulled him away from us. I couldn't get to him to hit him. I was.
How's that for drama?
Huh? Really, huh?
How did they do?
I'm with AJ, guys, if you want me to hang with him here. Bobby, you want me to hang with AJ?
Yes.
Let's get his comments.
Man, oh man. I missed by one. Robbie McGee finished 5th.
There is nothing that equals the emotion of victory lane at Indianapolis as the garland of flowers comes over the still helmeted Kenny Brack. AJ Foyt has just arrived to offer his congratulations. The crew is down here absolutely pummeling this young man. As he pulls the helmet off, let's get a quick word with AJ Foyt. AJ, welcome to victory lane again. What's it feel like?
Oh, I always wanted to come here 5 times, even if I got to come here 5 more with a car owner. Who cares? I'm here in Victory Circle again, and I'm so wonderful. All my drivers drove a great race today, and, you know, they all can't win, but they drove a hell of a good race. Robbie Buell, Billy Boat, and Kenny, and all I was worried about, I did not see how they could make it on fuel because I kept saying, oh, man.
The wily veteran knew. Let's find out if the young driver, the man who had won the championship for the Indy Racing League, how concerned were you as to whether or not you could run Robbie Gordon out of fuel, Kenny?
Well, I didn't know what kind of tank he got in there, but I didn't think he could do more than 30 laps in one tank, so I was quite convinced he had to pit for fuel.
What does it mean as he takes the sip of milk, the tradition? What does it mean to become a new motor sports hero by winning the Indy 500?
I don't know what it means yet, but I've been practicing drinking milk all week, so maybe that was what did it. I don't know. I got to thank the AJ Foyt Power Team for giving me a fantastic car, Goodyear tires. Came through in the end, Oldsmobile Power, AJ, and at home in Houston, Holmes, that helped put this car together. He couldn't be here, but thanks a lot to all of you people.
What a way to ring down a century of open wheel racing at Indianapolis. Congratulations, Kenny Brack, Indy 500 champion.
Thank you. I also want to thank Anita, my fiance.
And the fiance steps in.
For putting up with me.
For putting up with him. I think all is forgiven. Let's go back upstairs.
Kenny Brack is the 59th different winner of the Indianapolis 500. Now we go to Jan Beekes.
Well, Jeff Ward comes home in second spot, and Jeff, I know that when you're out there running with Kenny Brack, you just couldn't hold him off. Where did he have more speed?
Well, I think when he was behind me, I could hold him off, but the Yahoo car was working great, and just a lapper got in the way there. I had to lift real hard, and he just got a run on me. There's nothing I could do, and same way I got kind of by him on the restart when I got Boat and Brack on the restart, but I think we had the car to win if we were out front, but once we were behind and hit some lappers, they weren't making it easy on me. I just almost lost it in 4 one time, but the Goodyear tires worked great. Everything was, you know, I think I'm in the points lead for the IRL, so I got to be happy there. But second is tough here, but we'll go on to the next one.
Well, runner-up, but points leader in IRL, Jeff Ward. Great run today. Let's get to Jerry Punch.
Robbie Gordon getting a big hug from John Menard. Robbie, so close, but yet so far. Did you think you could make it?
Well, we showed if we would have got 2 miles to the gallon, we would have made it. We would have made it by about 2 gallons. The thing's still showing I had 2 gallons left in it when it ran out, and that's all I needed was 1 more lap.
The lap before you ran out, we saw you abruptly slow in the corner. Were you losing some pickup there, some fuel?
No, there was a car in front of me. I caught some traffic, and I was just being careful with him. You know, they said I had a 3.8 second lead, and I was just trying to be smart about it and not throw it away. And then all of a sudden I looked to the right and the fuel thing dropped, and I said, ah, shit, this one's gonna slip away again. You know, we should have won this race in 95. I pitted with 10 laps to go thinking I had a flat tire. Then Goodyear decides to jump the restart, and, you know, that race would have fell right in my lap. But this one we worked hard at. We fell a lap down. You know, John made some great calls calling the race, and we got back on the lead lap. Had a really, really good race car. You know, we watched what Rick Mears has done in the past and just worked on the car. We talked to John about it. We studied this race. We knew what it was going to take to win the race. Just slipped away.
Robbie Gordon close again. Now he just gets hungrier. Bob?
It's hard to control emotions and words when you're that close to winning the greatest spectacle in racing, and it all slips away. Much more to come. Kenny Brack wins at Indianapolis. The race has been run here at Indianapolis. Kenny Brack is the winner of the 83rd 500. Down to Jan Beekes.
But what an emotional ride for Robbie McGee. Robbie, you knew that your crew chief had been hit. You knew he was critically injured. What did that make you feel like when you heard on the radio near the end of the race that he was awake and alert?
That made the whole race for me. I mean, I want to dedicate everything I've done for Steve. I mean, he's the hardest worker out here. He's put the car, given me a great car all week. I mean, I didn't even know what to think after that happened, but I just got a big smile on my face when I heard that he woke up and gave us 2 thumbs up, and this is for him.
But a 5th place finish as a rookie, I mean, your ride behind the wheel was awesome. What was the key today?
I think it was, again, I've said from the beginning, I just wanted to stay in the race the whole time. Like, for example, the car got a little loose on that last run, and I knew Buell was the only person behind me for position, so I kind of just let him go by. I don't know how we got back around him at the end, but I'm glad for it. I mean, it's just finish the race. That's all I was really trying to do. The Energizer Motorsports team and the Advanced Formula car have been so awesome all week, and we knew we got a great break on the pit strategy when we came in for a yellow, running top 10, and based off of practice times this whole week, we know we can run with those guys, so we just got up there and did our best.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Great 5th place finish today for the rookie, Robbie McGee. One of the 7 blimps in the Goodyear's worldwide fleet, the Spirit of Akron, the largest airship in the world, has been circling over the Indianapolis Motor Speedway all afternoon and giving us some excellent pictures. Well, the number 14 is in victory lane again here at Indianapolis. The last time it was there, A.J. Foyt drove it in '77. He's there again as an owner. His driver, Kenny Brack, wins at Indy.
Al Michaels back at Indianapolis. You know, when we came on the air today, we talked about the driver and the team that will finish first, and they would need skill and bravery and engineering, and the other 2 elements we talked about were strategy and luck. And that is exactly what Kenny Brack had today and what Robbie Gordon didn't. This race is always about glory, and it's about heartbreak. In terms of the glory for Kenny Brack for the rest of his life, after the comma following his name, it will say the 1999 Indianapolis 500 champion. In terms of heartbreak for Arie Luyendyk, a brilliant career ends in a tangle of metal as he tries to make a move on the inside, and he would later say, I feel stupid. For Greg Ray, it ends so ingloriously and so incongruously in a pit lane accident. And for Eddie Cheever, it ends with a new engine which turned out to be the wrong engine today. It's about glory, it's about heartbreak, and it's also about the important things. And to Steve Freed, Robbie McGee's crew chief, our thoughts and our prayers in his recovery as he rests comfortable right now at Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis. The Indianapolis 500, there is no other thing in the world of sports like it. And what an incredible finish today as we take a look at the final order of finish for the 83rd running of the Indy 500, with Kenny Brack winning it when Robbie Gordon runs out of fuel and Jeff Ward winds up second and Billy Boat finished third, which was his starting position. Robbie McGee, a brilliant rookie effort today with Buell and Buddy Lazier finishing 7th. Buddy, the 1996 champion. Unser, Stewart, who's on his way to Charlotte, Matsuda, and Davey Hamilton. And continuing on, the veteran Boisel. The fastest rookie was Hollinsworth, who's 13th. Carlson, 14th. Another rookie, Schrader. Then Dismore, Waddles, Eddie Cheever, the defending champ, 18th. Calkins, Moreno, Ray with the pit lane accident, and Luyendyk. Eichmann's, Kite, Guerrero, Knapp, Scott Goodyear. And this frustrating decade ends that way for Scott and the rest of them. So that will do it for the 20th century at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Coming up next, here on ABC Sports, Sports Century, presented by General Motors, Sports Dynasties. The Indy 500, the 20th century, here is now complete.
Kenny Brack wins the 1999 83rd running of the Indianapolis